All right, Mr. Batch, you should be good to go.
Okay, thanks, sir. So this is a public hearing concerning the Verizon cable franchise renewal. We are under Federal Communications Commission law. We are required to hold this public hearing in order to solicit questions or comments from the public. What I was informed to do by the council that we hired, which is Cohn Associates, if there are any comments or questions, just to gather them, report back to Cohen, and then Cohen will respond to us and we can respond to anyone who had any questions or comments. However, no one has signed up to comment or ask questions on this item, which has been advertised. So I'll read the statement that was prepared for us, and then we can move on through hearing. Sorry about that. So this is a public hearing of the Borough Council of Swissvale Borough regarding cable franchise renewal for the Borough of Swissvale. This public hearing is held pursuant to Section 626 of the Federal Cable Act, which sets forth the process for franchise renewal. The borough's current franchise with Verizon is with the industry norm renewal window, and the borough is beginning the process of renewing the franchise. This public hearing is part of the preliminary portion of franchise renewal, in which the borough reviews the cable operator's past performance and identifies the borough's future cable-related community needs. As such, as part of this public hearing, we invite comments from any citizens who wish to speak regarding either or both of the aforementioned subjects. Franchise renewal is the best opportunity for municipalities to assert their rights with respect to their cable operator and to obtain important benefits in return for granting the cable operator the right to use their public rights of way. These benefits include a state-of-the-art cable system now and in the future, strong customer service standards, free services to community facilities, better reporting requirements from the cable operators, maximized franchise fees, public educational and governmental channels if desired, public educational and governmental capital support funding if desired, legal protections of the rights of way, and better mechanisms to enforce the franchise agreement. These are just some of the potential benefits available through franchise renewal. Citizens may address these items or any other cable-related items that are important to them. We will now open up the hearing to citizen comments. And we have no one who requested to comment. So that would be the conclusion of the prepared statement on the Verizon franchise renewal, and we can close the hearing.
All right, let's close that hearing. So we're going to have a brief recess for about 11 minutes. Our next thing on our scheduled agenda for this evening is a demolition clearance hearings, which were advertised to begin at 6:30 p.m. So feel free to mute your microphone and video. Do what you need to do for the next 10 minutes, and we'll start at 6:30 sharp with those demolition hearings. Thank you.
And Greg, am I on for the 6:30 as well?
Yes. Yeah, that one we need you for the 6:30. You don't need to transcribe the transcript of this one that we just did.
Okay.
But the 6:30 hearings, just give me 7509 Melrose Street. We have 3 hearings. So if you can transcribe 7509 Melrose, because that's the one we do have the demolition funding for right now.
Okay. All right. I'll be on here.
Okay, thanks.
Same link, right?
What's that?
Same link.
Yeah, just don't get off. Just mute yourself and shut your camera off, and then just come back on.
Testing. Chris, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hey, Aaron,
Yep.
I can email you the exhibits
Yep.
for these hearings.
Yep. AaronWaz@gmail.com. And if you're reading something tonight, go slow for me.
All right, we are at 6:30 p.m., so we are going to begin our demolition clearance hearings. Mr. Chief Wilhelm, are you the one that I'm turning the meeting over to, or does Mr. McTiernan need to say something first?
Yeah, me and Mr. McTiernan, I just will need to have the screen shared and remember how to get this set up.
Sounds good. Well, the meeting is open for this demolition hearing, and turn the meeting over to you two.
You want to proceed, Chief? Just this is the time and place that's been advertised to conduct demolition hearings about 3 properties in the municipality, and you can make your presentation about what steps have been taken to determine ownership, interest in property, and the appropriate course of action.
All right, is my screen shared?
Not right now, it's not.
Okay. Get back to the Zoom link. How about now?
It looks like it's loading, and yes, we see your PowerPoint.
Okay. All right. So, basically, my name is Clyde Wilhelm. I'm the building code official for the borough of Swissvale. I'm designated as the borough's building code official with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and I'm certified by the Pennsylvania Department of Labor and Industry. This is a copy of the notice that was published in the Valley Mirror on March 13th and March 20th, indicating the hearing this evening. Just a note that the properties have been switched around in the order, or 7509 Melrose will be first, followed by 7305 Denniston and 2114 Monongahela Avenue. So property number 1, 7509 Melrose Street, blot and lock number 235-J-279. The owner of that property is the estate of Marjorie D. Ofkansky, with the only known address at that address, 7509 Melrose Street. Exhibit 1 will be entered into the record, which is the copy of the title search performed for 7509 Melrose Street by our solicitor's office. The results of that title search shows the following items of relevance. There are currently no mortgages on the property listed. There are 2 judgments. Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Revenue for $1,237.38. And one for Woodland Hills School District for $21,715.42. And there's also a federal tax lien in the amount of $32,383.89 with the Internal Revenue Service. There are a total of 22 tax liens on the property dating back as far back as 2010. As standard practice, all owners, lien holders, mortgage holders, judgment holders, and taxing authorities were notified first-class mail and certified mail return receipt requested. I'm sorry, trying to move the little window of the Zoom meeting out of the way of the text. At any rate, they were all notified of the public hearings on the condemnation of the properties, and if the owner had more than one such address as an alternate address listed for tax mailing, notices were sent to those addresses as well. The property was also posted with a copy of the notice, which will be indicated in the attached photographs, but we will introduce as Exhibit 2 all copies of the notification letters as well as the certified mailings. So Borough Code Enforcement has previously sent violation notices to the property owner and taken enforcement action with no corrective action or abatement of the nuisance resulting. After further investigation several years ago, when this property was first identified and started to have some issues of part of the roof collapsing. It was determined that the owner of record had been deceased since September of 1999. Through further attempts to reach the owner's heirs, the neighbors had said that there was a son that lived up in North Versailles. We attempted to locate him, and we determined that her two heirs, Thomas and James, were also deceased as of January 16 and 11, 2018, respectively. Borough staff and resources have been used to secure the building. We boarded up the rear door of the property in March of 2017, and the structure has suffered years of neglect and has not been occupied for more than a decade. The following are photos of the current condition of the property, which will be introduced as Exhibit 3. 8 total photos of 7509 Melrose Street. This first one is of the porch area. This is actually to indicate the posting on the home. This was taken on March 3rd. And if you'll notice the placard on there, we placard vacant and abandoned structures that we identify, and that has an X on it, meaning that it is a no-go, no interior firefighting because of structural compromise within the structure. This is just a close-up photo of the posting from March 3rd, indicating with the address on the mailbox just for verification. This is another picture of the home from the left side, left corner. And as you can see, all of the insul brick that was covering the wood clapboard on the side is all peeled off, and that's due to significant water damage on the interior. You can't really tell, but on the second floor windows, I tried to get a picture, but it didn't come out. The cameras don't always see what the eyes do, but through the windows, you could see from the street that the interior of the ceiling is collapsed and falling down from above inside the home. Here, if you look, this box gutter previously fell off several years ago, which would be right in the center of the picture, and fell down between the neighbors' homes. And also you can see, if you look very closely at the slate shingles on the dormer of the roof, there's actually holes in the roof because the shingles are falling down to the ground as well. This is that same dormer from the rear of the home, and I'd like you to please pay attention to where the stack is coming up from the roof, where the dormer meets the roof. If you notice, it's actually tilted downward because it's starting to collapse into the home because of the deterioration of the roof members. This is the opposite side of the home that shows the chimney deteriorating. We've had issues with bricks falling down in between the homes of the neighbor's yard. And this is the rear roof. You can see another hole in the shingled portion of the roof. In summary, this property is a vacant, abandoned, and blighted structure. Under the current legal definitions, the structure is dilapidated, including structural damage and deficiencies, and the structure is obviously unsafe and unfit for human habitation, and the property contains a dangerous and nuisance structure on the property, and it therefore constitutes an unlawful nuisance and is a threat to the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the borough pursuant to Chapter 10, Part 1 of the Swissvale Borough Code, also known and referenced as Ordinance 90-8. It would be my recommendation as the building code official that this building be demolished as quickly as possible and as funding allows, because if it does collapse on its own, it's going to cause significant damage to the neighboring homes. As you can see, there's only a few feet in between both sides. And with that, I will conclude my presentation on that property. If there's any questions or comments or any other public input at this time.
If I may speak.
Mr. Will? Yes.
I
Please
live.
identify your name and address, please.
Oh, sorry. It's Brian Wilt, 7507 Melrose Street. I'm the greenhouse to the left of 7509. And everything that you mentioned is pretty much what I was going to say. The bricks and the siding and stuff falling off the house. And it's I've lived here pretty much all my life, and it's just slowly started to fall apart. So it's nice to hear that there's something going to be done about it. My only other question would be, what date would the demolition potentially start?
That I can't answer. be organized through the borough administration and the borough manager.
Okay. But that's all.
The funding has been obtained for the demolition through the Enterprise Zone Corporation of Braddock, but it has not been put out to bid yet until all the municipalities do these legal clearance hearings and pronounce them eligible for demolition. Which, I mean, we'll make that declaration next week. But there are also structures in Rankin, Braddock, and North Braddock being torn down at this time with this money, and my best guess would be end of summer, early fall, everything would be completed.
Okay. It's good to know. Thank you.
Is there anyone else on the meeting?
Yep, I would like to comment. My name is Vera Lampley, and I live in 7511 on Melrose. And I just want to add my 2 cents to it. Thank you very much for bringing this up for consideration. There have been parts of that house that have fallen down and have caused damage to my house. And so I'm very glad to hear that this is going to be taken down. And I'm glad to hear that it's going to be taken down as soon as possible because it is a hazard. And as I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Brian.
Brian. No, not Brian.
Oh, Clyde Wilhelm, the fire
Yes.
chief, building code official. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Oh gosh, I lost my train of thought. Anyway, I'm very happy to see that this is happening. I second everything that you said. And yeah, it is a hazard. Pieces have started falling down, and thank you for putting this house up for consideration because it's been falling apart for some time. That's all.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I just have a quick question. First and foremost, I want to thank Ms. Lampley and Mr. Wilt for coming forward. I've lived previously near abandoned properties that were falling into the street, and it was important for the community to stand up together to demonstrate the importance. So thank you for coming this evening and expressing your concern. Seeing how close the houses are, and Mr. Wilhelm or Chief Wilhelm, I'm new relatively at this. How do we guarantee that no damage happens to the adjacent properties?
That would be on the responsibility of the contractor. That's covered in the contract. This probably will be at least the roof and second floor will most likely be torn down by hand. That's generally how they do this all the time. Most of the contractors that do this are very good at it, and they're insured and bonded. So if anything does happen, it's covered through that.
Awesome. Thank you. That was my concern. You answered it. Thanks.
You're welcome.
One more comment, if I may. This is Vera Lampley again. I'm sure we'll have to vacate, but do you know how far in advance we will receive notice for this being torn down if we need to vacate, or if there's any things we need to do to our properties to help ensure or mitigate the damage, if any damage should occur?
Yeah, I can surely reach out to you after the contracts are awarded and there's an estimated start date. That's the best I can answer you at this point, because there's too many variables. We don't know if we'll be one of the first ones or one of the last ones under that grant award. So timing could be those contractors could be in here for a few months in the region tearing down. So we won't know.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions or comments for Melrose Street? We will go on to property number 2. Property number 2 is 7305 Denniston Avenue in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 15218, block and lot 178L192. And the owners of record are Benny L. Studemeyer Sr. and Marion D. Studemeyer, wife. The only mailing address, again, is that residence, 7305 Denniston Avenue. A title search was performed for the property, provided by the borough solicitor. We will enter into this hearing Exhibit 4, which will be a copy of the title search for that address. The title search results show that there was one outstanding mortgage from Citizens Bank of Pennsylvania in the amount of $38,000. There are 2 judgments against the property. For the borough of Swissvale in the amount of $1,766.83, as well as Woodland Hills School District in the amount of $14,138.67. There's one municipal lien from the Borough of Swissvale in the amount of $1,259.36, as well as 27 tax liens on the property dating back to prior to 2010. Of course, as standard protocol, all lien holders, owners, mortgage holders, judgment holders, and taxing bodies were notified via first class and certified mail, return receipt requested of the public hearings on the condemnation of the properties. If the owner had more than one address, such as an alternative address for tax mailings, notices were sent to those as well. And the property was also posted with a copy of the letter, which will be indicated in the following photographs. So we will enter into exhibit number 5, copies of all those notification letters and certified mail receipts. Again, the borough has taken previous action for code enforcement and sent violation notices to the property owner and had taken enforcement action with no corrective action or abatement of the nuisance resulting. The structure has been determined to suffer years of neglect and has not been occupied for more than a decade. This building has been owned by the current owners of record since 1966. And through the investigation process, trying to reach owners of the building, it was determined that both owners are deceased. Mr. Stoudemire passed in August of 2002 and Mrs. Stoudemire in May of 2013. The property has been vacant for approximately 12 years or more. The following photos are the current condition of the property, and there are 8 total photos that will be entered as Exhibit 6. This is the front of the home. The neighbors on both sides have been maintaining the yards in the front and the back and trying to keep the property neat and clean. And that's kind of how this fell through the cracks for a few years. We weren't notified of this property until just a few years ago. As you can see, this was taken on March 3rd and indicates the posting taped to the door. This is a closer up photo to document that with the address in the frame of the photo. These photos were taken yesterday on March 25th to show you the current state and condition of the property. If you look closely, the porch roof, the shingles have all deteriorated and are falling off. And if you look through the second floor window, you can see remnants of the ceiling coming down due to the holes and the leaks in the roof. Here's a close-up photo of that center window from the front. In the upper right-hand corner, that's actually a piece of plaster that's covered in mold hanging from the ceiling. This is the rear of the home. The home is secured. The back door is unlocked, but the floors are so swollen from the moisture that you can't open the door. I tried to open it a crack to go in and take a photo of the interior. And if you look closely, this is actually the blur on the left is the door, because I could just get the door open enough at the top to get the camera in, because the windows are covered. So this was the only access. At the bottom of this photo is the ceiling. It's all collapsed onto the floor. There's significant water damage inside and significant mold within the home. This is a picture of the roof from the rear, just to show you and indicate the deterioration of the roof and the shingles, which is allowing the water to enter the home, and it's running all the way down from the attic to the first floor. This is just another picture of the front, and you can see, again, the front porch roof. These are the best photos that I was able to get from street level to indicate the damage of the structure. So property 2 at Denison Avenue obviously is a vacant, abandoned, and blighted property. The structure is dilapidated, including structural damage and deficiencies. The structure is unsafe and unfit for human habitation, and the property contains a dangerous and nuisance structure on the property. It therefore constitutes an unlawful nuisance and is a threat to the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the Borough of Swissvale pursuant to Chapter 10, Part 1 of the Swissvale Borough Code, also known as Ordinance 90-8. At this time, it is my recommendation that council consider this for demolition as funding becomes available. This would be another priority demolition for us. Are there any other questions and comments, or anyone here to speak from public comment? None being heard, we'll move on to the third and final property. Property number 3 is 2114 Monongahela Avenue in Swissvale, block and lot number 178L069. The owner of record is Andrew Polanski, and the owner's mailing address is 2114 Monongahela Avenue as well. A title search was performed for the property and provided to us from the borough solicitor. We will enter as Exhibit 7 a copy of the title search for 2114 Monongahela Avenue. The title search results showed no mortgages, no judgments, and no municipal liens, but there are 8 tax liens that are delinquent on the property since 2018. 2018 is whenever this individual purchased the property. All owners, lien holders, mortgage holders, judgment holders, taxing bodies were notified via first-class mail and certified mail return receipt of the public hearings on the condemnation of the properties. The owner only had one address, and the property was also posted with a copy of the letter, which will be indicated in the following exhibit of photos. Right now, we will enter into Exhibit 8 copies of all notification letters as well as delivery receipts. Borough Code Enforcement has previously sent violation notices to the property owner and had taken enforcement action with no correction of action or abatement of the nuisance resulting. The structure has suffered years of neglect and has not been occupied for about a decade. While the current owner purchased it in September of 2018, the property was vacant for several years before. The owner was found to be working on the property. We met with him and they were required to get a building permit, which was applied for and ultimately issued on February 17th, 2019. The owner worked there on and off for about a year and a half, and we have not seen him in the last several years. I haven't seen him there for approximately 3 years or more, and we answered some calls to a neighbor's house for some medical emergencies, and I personally had conversation with them. They said they haven't seen him for 3 or 4 years there. The permit expired under the Uniform Construction Code on February 17th, 2024. The following are photos of the current condition of the property. This will be entered as Exhibit 9. There's a total of 9 photos. This first photo shows the home from the sidewalk level. For the purpose of showing the posting on the property, you can see it on the front door. Here's a closer picture of it with the address in the frame of view. These were, again, from March 3rd. These photos were taken on March 25th. This shows the windows have been out of this home for several years, which has allowed water inside to further decay the home. You can see also one on the left upper side on the dormer that's also missing a window. This is the rear of the structure that has construction debris, and this has been in place again for several years with no change. If you look closely at the back of the house under the double window on the first floor, you can see kind of a little makeshift roof. This next picture will just show you that this is a basement door, but it's actually open. And while I was there, I did see wildlife going down into the basement. So there's also raccoons living in the home. This was the only window that was not covered. This was from the rear. Sorry, you could see my reflection of my jacket in it, but this was the best photo I can get. But what I want to point out is the complete interior of the home is gutted down to the studs. And if you look at the bottom there, there's actually plywood just laying there. That's actually lying over the floor joist. That's not even secured to the floor joist. Many parts of the floor in this home don't even exist. Again, this is just a photo from the front to show you a little further back. This is to the left side. You can see construction debris and brick and rocks and things thrown about. This also is a pile of gravel sitting in front of the stairs, blocking the entrance to the first floor. So again, the property is vacant, abandoned, and blighted property. The structure is dilapidated, including structural damage and deficiencies. The structure is unsafe and unfit for human habitation. and the property contains a dangerous and nuisance structure on the property. And I apologize. I want to go back. One thing that I had forgot to mention before, the gentleman who did buy the property was from Ukraine. And the neighbor believed that he went back to Ukraine several years ago. I think that's relevant for council to take into consideration as part of this. But at any rate, this property therefore constitutes an unlawful nuisance and is a threat to the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the borough pursuant to Chapter 10, Part 1 of the Swissvale Borough Code, also known as Ordinance 90-8. And it is my recommendation as the building code official that this be considered for demolition as funding becomes available. Are there any other questions or comments? Well, there being none, Mr. McTiernan, I don't know if there's anything else that you would like to.
No, Chief, I think we've covered it, and the record can show that there were no comments on those properties from the audience, and the president can bring the hearing to a conclusion.
Well, to that end, I'd like to close this demolition hearing at 6:55 p.m. We've got a 5-minute break. 7 o'clock sharp, we'll start our agenda meeting at 7 o'clock. So we'll see you all then.
All right, Greg, and I'm leaving.
Thanks. Thanks, Aaron.
All
Yeah,
right,
just give me the
and just the first one.
yeah, transcript for 7509 only.
All right, have a great night.
So Aaron, just to stand corrected, your first last name at Gmail, right?
Yeah, Aaron Waz, W-A-Z.
Oh, okay. W-A-Z.
Yeah, easy. Yep. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, everyone. It is 7 o'clock. Welcome for those who are viewing at home. If you're just signing in, we've had 2 public hearings prior to this, but I would like to call this agenda meeting for the Borough of Swissvale for March 26th, 2025 to order at 7 o'clock p.m. We're going to go through our roll call. Miss Alfonso Wells.
Present.
Mr. Haynes.
Present.
Mr. Miser.
Here.
Mr. Quinn.
Here.
Miss Stribling.
Present.
Miss Swartzwelder.
I'm here.
And Mayor Swartzwelder.
Here.
Wonderful. So we have no one signed up for public comment, so we're going to keep moving through with our meeting. The next item, if you're following on those agendas at home, is item 4, interview of applicants for Shade Tree Advisory Committee and Civil Service Commission alternates. We have on this call Mr. Perry Recker, who has applied to be appointed to the Shade Tree Advisory Committee. Mr. Recker, I'm going to ask you the question that I've asked other candidates. And if after that, if any other council members have any questions, they may ask them of you. But why would you like to be, sorry, let me start again. If you could introduce yourselves to us and tell us why you are interested in being appointed to this position.
My name is Perry Recker. I've lived in Pittsburgh off and on for a number of years. I most recently moved back here from Illinois, where I was involved in becoming a tree keeper with the city of Chicago and suburbs. And it was very intensive training. And so when I came back to Pittsburgh, I was interested in doing something with that as well. So I did the tree tender training, what, three years ago or so. Well, I moved to Swissvale about 5 years ago, and have been getting involved. So about 3 years ago, I applied for the for one of the vacancies on the board, which went to someone else. But I've been working with the Shade Tree Committee as a volunteer, non-voting volunteer, which I'm fine with. But when Cynthia retired or stepped down, I said, well, okay, I'm willing to step up and become a voting member. So that, in short, is why I'm interested and why I'm here.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your interest, and thank you for the ways in which you've served the borough and the committee already. I want to open it up. Are there any other questions or comments from the other elected officials?
I do want to say that I appreciate the fact that although you didn't get the position the last time, this is obviously something that you love and appreciate, and so you stuck with it. Well, you didn't have a voice in whatever they were doing, but you were able to influence people by being there, and I think that is so important. I'm looking at the different types of things that you do, and the fact that this is clearly a passion of yours, and I'm very, very pleased that you want to dedicate your passion to our small little borough. So in appreciation to the fact that you are so interested and that you're willing to give your service to our little borough. Thank you.
Thank you. No, it's a joy. I was involved in maybe a little bit bigger place in Illinois. Actually, it was called a city, but it was more the size of a town called Blue Island, and there I learned a lot about how tree commissions need the cooperation of public works folks and borough council. And I have to say, I think Swissvale does a really good job at that in public works and in the support. The committee could do very little without that support.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Recker, for your interest. And we will, our process is, we will briefly mention this as part of our agenda later in this meeting. And then next week, we will vote on that appointment. And then we will have the office let you know the outcome of that appointment. So thank you so much for your interest and your willingness to serve in this capacity.
Thanks for having me early in the agenda.
Yeah. Absolutely. Get you
Stay,
in
but
and
I have a number of things I'm involved in, including eating dinner. So
well, there you go. You can enjoy the rest of your
I'm going to
evening.
sign off, and thank you very much for interviewing me and considering me.
Absolutely. Thank you so
All right.
much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. We'll move on to item 5. We have a presentation by Miss Tiffany Lawson, who is the program coordinator with Healthy Habits Organization. And she was just going to share a little bit about, she was invited by council to come and speak a little bit about an event that they have coming up, I believe not this coming weekend, but the following weekend. So Miss Lawson, the floor is yours.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me. I really appreciate that. So, yes, as you indicated, I'm the program coordinator for Healthy Habits for Seniors. It is a free program that is being offered over here in Homestead at the Best of the Batch. That program consists of partly working out. It's a modified workout class strictly for seniors. Now, a lot of people ask what is considered a senior. We have a range of seniors that are included in our program. I would say starting about 60. Our eldest senior would be 95 years old. So yes. So our program, it's a 2-hour program, and we are focusing on the preventative side of it. So with that being said, we have a team of nurses that are taking your blood pressure, educating you on if it's high or low, and what you should or should not be doing regarding that. After that is done, you're broken up into small groups. And within those groups, you're going to do partly a fitness class, and it's modified for about an hour. You get several breaks in between. The other part of that is on the wellness part. So we have a lot of healthcare professionals that are there to educate you on the wellness part. So just to give you an example of that, what that consists of, in the past, we've had like a dietitian there to go over your health journeys on eating better. We've also had UPMC there giving out screenings on your cholesterol. We've had a physical therapist there going over different things, as well as a pharmacist there to answer any questions regarding your medications. That's just a part of our program. Every program that we do offer, we have different healthcare professionals there. So our next program, as you indicated, is scheduled on Saturday, April 5th. During that time, part of it is working out. If you're a person that has never been to the gym, that's fine too. Everyone has a day one and starts differently. Our trainers know if you need to have it modified or if it needs to be a little bit more challenging. And we also have people there to assist you. If you've had knee surgery, that's fine. You can still come. We are equipped and well-trained to know what assistance is needed. We have some seniors there that also have walkers. We also have some that have canes also. There's about 50 plus seniors that attend our program. It is a 2-hour program. So when you first come in, you're getting registered. And as I indicated, we have a team of nurses that are there to take your blood pressure. Our program starts at 9 a.m., but the doors open up at 8 o'clock. We also offer a free light breakfast, which includes bagels, fruit, some orange juice, and coffee. And then the program will begin at 9 a.m. It's over typically about 11:15, and it occurs once a month. It is generally the first Saturday of each month, but that date can change. As of right now, we have our April and our May dates that are out. And then after that, we'll update our schedule on the next classes, but it typically is the first Saturday of each month. It's really a great program. The seniors don't really realize that they are working out. I think they forget, like with the music and everything going on. We have several different vendors there offering services. We've had a home health company there to advise our seniors what's available to them at no charge by coming to their house. So there's a lot of information that is being given to our seniors. We're not trying to be a home health company at all. We're just trying to be on the preventative side. A lot of things can be prevented by just doing a basic workout. And that's where we come in and want to assist you the proper way and teach you the things that you should be doing, even if you are going to the gym. Our website also provides a lot of information if anyone is interested. I believe that the flyer is being shared as I'm speaking, but our website is also called healthyhabits.com. You can also check us out on Facebook. If anyone has any questions, they can definitely reach us at area code 412-944-4460. Again, that number is 412-944-4460. It is really a great program. If I have some seniors on this call, or if you have some parents or some seniors in your family that you feel just need to get out of the house and socialize and meet new people and get a wealth of information regarding their health journey. That's what it's there for. Based off of the feedback that we get, they don't even realize that they are working out, and they just love to meet the new people and everything that's going on. And it's helping some people as well. So that's our journey. If there's any questions, I would love to answer the questions. I would love to see anyone that is interested in attending. Again, the next program is scheduled next Saturday, April 5th at the Best of the Batch, which is located in Homestead. There's free parking as well. Again, the doors open up at 8 a.m., but the class actually starts at 9. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ms. Lawson.
Hi.
Angela, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I tried to cover everything within 5 minutes.
Awesome. And I think it's a good program. Like I told you when we talked, I actually started a gym somewhere else myself just because stress, you know what I mean? And people
Yes.
don't realize, the things that you do, the many different hats that you might wear. It's about getting in shape. And as we grow
Absolutely.
older,
Absolutely.
making sure you take care of yourself because, I'll call you. I've experienced something dear to me that happened this week, and you really don't know what you're facing until it happens.
Absolutely.
So I think this would be a good opportunity for someone who might just need some extra help whenever
Absolutely.
so I appreciate you coming on and sharing what you can do
Absolutely.
in the community.
And I hope everything is okay. But yes, we offer a lot of wealth of information with our healthcare professionals that attend our program. Every program has different healthcare professionals, so it's not the same professional, but everything is for your basic needs, not you individually, but it's for the average person's everyday needs. Me personally, I've had some healthcare concerns as well. So everything goes back to just doing some basic things. No one's saying you have to do 100 sit-ups and, run 5 miles a day. This is just basic things to help you and guide you and on the things that you need to do, as well as the resources by having the healthcare professionals there. It's a little different. Everyone has doctors, but sometimes you may feel that you're being rushed in the doctor's office or you're not sure what your questions are, or you forget what your concerns are until you get home, and then you just forget about it. And sometimes that's a fear that a lot of people have. You don't have to be a senior to have that fear, but just to feel a little bit comfortable and not feel that you're in a rushed environment, you can ask these questions. So our goal is to be catered to those seniors. So whatever is like the feedback that we're getting to improve our program and things that the seniors want to see, that's what we also focus on.
And Ms. Lawson, this is Kevin.
Yes. Hi.
First, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you.
What you're doing is vitally important. It prolongs life, prolongs the quality of life, prolongs lives, etc.
Yes. Yes.
And really has a great impact. Was there a cost to this for?
No, it's free.
Fabulous. That's
Let me say that again. It's FREE, free, and breakfast.
and breakfast. All right. I wonder if this is something for the administration. Is this something we could put in our newsletter, Ms. Ansel, Mr. Batchy? Is this something that we could include a little ad or something so we can let our residents know that this is available to them?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I have her flyer that she did share, and I passed on to all of council, so I can definitely put that in the newsletter.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. And the fact that it's right here in Homestead. So we're right on the Mon Valley at the Best of the Batch. If anyone is not familiar with that, you may know who Charlie Batch is. So it is his foundation that we have partnered up with.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lawson.
You're welcome. And thank you guys for having me. You have a great evening.
Thank you as well.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We're going to move to item 6, which are are our agenda items. We have 11 of them that we're going to discuss, so I'm just going to move through those. So we're going to start with 6A, which is discuss board and commission appointments.
We have a vacant seat on the Shade Tree Advisory Committee, which Mr. Recker interviewed for. He was the only applicant. We also have 2 alternate members on the Civil Service Commission, which we had no applicants for. So if anybody knows any applicants, anyone interested in serving as an alternate on the Civil Service Commission, they can still apply because we could appoint them next month. But I would recommend we place on the agenda to appoint Mr. Recker to the Shade Tree Advisory Committee, as he's already been doing a lot of work with them, and continue as a voting member now.
Sounds good. Throw that on the agenda. All right, next 6B, discuss a blight declaration for each of the properties involved in the demolition clearance hearings.
The final step in the process to have these cleared for demolition is to have council declare them a blighted nuisance property. Just a simple 1-line explanation, and then they'll have their legal clearance. Mr. McTiernan can then write a letter to myself saying that they've satisfied the process at that point, and then they're eligible for demolition. The only one that was funded, which I gave in the memo I gave to you, was 7509 Melrose Street, but I think it's by far the worst and has the most impact in that neighborhood. So that was a good one to be funded. But I did want to do the clearance hearings for the other 2 in case another project in Braddock, Rankin, or North Braddock is not able to be completed. They may be able to shift the money to us. So that's why I wanted to have the extra ones done.
Any comments from elected officials? All right, we'll keep moving along. Yes, Mr. Batchy, make sure that does go on the agenda for next week. 6C, discuss a request to allow work overnights and weekends on the Washington Street Bridge.
The superintendent for Allison Park Contractors, Corey, is with us tonight to make the request to council to waive some of the requirements for working evenings and weekends. One of the issues they're having with PRT is reluctant to close the busway during demolition and erection of the steel during Monday through Friday peak hours, because it would impact their service. This would fall under, from what I could see in the noise ordinance, it talks about construction and repair of buildings is only allowed 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. There's another section for pile driving, air hammers, etc. It says, which I think this would fall under, especially the demolition. And it says the operation between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. of any pile driver, steam shovel, pneumatic, I can't read my writing, I'm sorry, pneumatic wrenches, derrick, steam or electric hoist, or other appliance, the use of which is attended by loud or unusual noise. So it's limited from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. But it does not mention days of the week in that section for this type of construction. So I'll defer to Corey, and I'm not sure the pronunciation of your name, Corey Potets. I think that's what it is, but
close enough.
Close enough. No, well, what is it?
It's the second T silent. So Potets.
Okay. Potets. Okay.
Yeah. So pretty much, yeah, along the lines. So obviously, we got restrictions on Norfolk Southern's tracks. And then PRT kind of gave us a restriction of we can't do any work on the busway really during the week. That would involve a full closure, and that is needed to safely remove the bridge. So they gave us, starting at essentially after, I guess, 12:01 Saturday morning, all the way up to 5 a.m. Monday morning, we can shut down the busway for the weekend. And I was more so just looking for the opportunity to potentially work overnights. If needed, it might be a kind of around the clock thing to try to, I'm thinking it's going to be 2 to 3 weekends max for the demo. And then probably about the same for the erection of the bridge. So we're kind of limited with what Norfolk Southern has going on, which is somewhat unknown. We'll have to work around their trains. So that's kind of why there's a range to it. I don't know how many times we'll get stopped. So it just gives us an opportunity to keep working during that weekend. If for some reason the day doesn't work out so well, go at night. And then as far as equipment wise and noise that we'll be making, we'll have a crane there. We'll be using torches, cutting the steel. We will probably have some pneumatic hammers, mainly little 35-pound chipping hammers. I can avoid running a hoe ram on an excavator, which are the real big hammers, a lot louder than a small chipping hammer. And then probably like backup alarms would be another thing on the equipment trucks, whatnot. Other than that, I mean, noise would just be your general construction noises of having X amount of people there. But I'm not going to be getting like stone delivered, so there won't be triaxle tailgates slamming, which are very loud. So wanted to get everyone's thoughts on it, see if it's something that we could do for a limited number of weekends for these two activities.
Go ahead, Chief Wilhelm.
Mr. Ansel, as the code enforcement officer, I just want to bring to council's attention that we made the same accommodation when we replaced the Kenmar Bridge for the contractors to work evenings and weekends to expedite the process. Because I don't believe anybody was on council.
I was.
Okay, were you? Okay.
Yeah, and the only reason I was going to bring that up as well, just because I remember residents coming to council to complain about the noise, and like the one eye surgeon or someone who went to like stay in a hotel because he couldn't get his sleep. So I mean, I think this stinks that we have to do this, but I feel like we have to do this. I mean, this bridge
only
needs
once
to get
in 100 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree. So, I mean, I'm in favor of what we need to do, and it sounds like Mr. Potez is doing what he can to limit the noise as best he can. Using some smaller tools as opposed to giant ones, to maybe try to keep those decibels down a little bit. But I'm sorry, residents that are nearby, but I mean, I feel like we've been at the mercy of Norfolk Southern and Pittsburgh Regional Transit this whole time, and I don't know what other options we have.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, I would agree, Chris. I would just want to make sure that we're proactive in informing the businesses and residences in a certain radius of that, giving them ample time to know when this is going to be happening, what days, just so if they do need to make other accommodations, that they have ample time to do that.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion.
I've been talking to Greg, and I would say at a minimum, I could probably give 2 weeks notice on a potential weekend overnights. I'm not even going to say that it may not even happen. But you guys could, put a newsletter or release something, a statement saying, the potential for overnight work in that area. I have to give a 2 week notice to PRT to be able to shut down the busway because they got to work in a couple extra buses to still service the area effectively. And then any weekends beyond that first weekend, they require 72 hours. But if I go into weekend number 2 and it's going to run into a third weekend, I'll know Sunday probably for the next weekend. So, another week heads up. You guys can toss out that final weekend. I mean, we want to get this done as quick as possible as well, because time is money for us out there too. So having to wait an entire week to potentially continue working doesn't really benefit anybody.
And this would just be the weekend, correct?
Yes, I don't anticipate having to work overnights during the week.
Okay.
Like I said, the critical activities are the demo and the erection, and with the restrictions on the busway, there's no reason for us to have to work at night during the week.
Okay, I just want to make sure whatever easement we give or the relaxing of the code we give is limited to those things. I would strongly recommend we don't go Sunday into Monday. People who have Monday through Fridays do need to sleep Sunday night. But I understand, that a little bit of inconvenience to reconnect our community is important.
Yeah,
But I want it limited. I want it limited and not based on, too many people calling off and you're going to work all night. It needs to be done and done right, but it needs to be done at the least amount of inconvenience to our neighborhood.
I mean, I would say that in that
Understood.
neighborhood, a lot of people don't have the means to make alternate arrangements to go someplace. It is a very poor working class neighborhood. You can't go anywhere. You're probably working really hard during the week and you want to sleep at least. Guess you can't do that. Um, so it should be as limited as possible. It's a shame that it would have to be put onto the people who are living there, already can't really cross the bridge, and then you can't sleep on your poor weekend. I mean, that's awful.
Schwartzwalder, you had your hand raised earlier.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I appreciate that we're talking about, maybe 3 nights. Ultimately, what I heard was potentially 3 nights, and that's max. But whenever we give a notice, maybe just doing a blanket notice of there's potential construction that's happening these 3 nights. And so if it only takes one weekend and not all three, then that's better than having to say, oh, wait, we're doing one more weekend. Oh, wait, we're doing one more weekend. Those are just my thoughts on it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think this is something residents of our community are going to have to deal with also with the commercial street bridge. The overnight construction that's going to be happening on that will definitely be audible around Swissvale as well. So, but yeah, I agree with everything, as limited as possible and notifying in advance, I think, are the best things we can do as a council.
Even getting flyers out to the residents, I would be willing to go drop flyers at people's doors. I mean, people don't always see the newsletter. People don't necessarily have or you utilize internet, but leaving a note in the door saying, "Hey, we care enough to let you know. Sorry for the inconvenience, but this is what we're doing to reconnect our community."
Well, one of the things we've done in the past with as far as notifications are to have the contractors prepare a flyer, and we would approve the flyer. You'll give us a copy of it. We would approve it and then put it on the contractors to deliver it because they're the ones asking for the exception of time. And so that's something they could do to those surrounding areas and deliver it, post on phone poles and deliver it to the most affected residents.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Is this
That's
something
fine.
that
I can.
Go ahead.
All
Go
right.
ahead,
I was
Mr.
going to say I
Lucas.
can do that. I would just ask that you guys provide that radius of what you would want, like posted or passed out, because what I think our ideas of who's affected could be different. So I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah. When do you expect to? What would the earliest you expect to do a weekend overnight work?
If I had my way, I would like to go mid-April, but I can currently waiting on PRT since January 6th to try to get an agreement to be even able to go on their busway. So I gave them all the information they asked for. I was told 4 weeks, and we're about 2 weeks into that 4 weeks. So I think mid-April would be best case scenario, but that would mean I got to pull a lot of stuff together in a quick amount of time, so it may not be realistic at this point. But as far as schedule goes, that's kind of where my last, that's when I'd like to start. I would like to start before, but I'm getting held up by that agreement at the moment. So I'm looking, let's just say, I'm hoping to have the demo done by end of May at the latest. And then I'm hoping to, if that happens, I'm hoping to erect the bridge mid-July, early August, something like that.
Yeah.
But fluid right now because obviously we haven't done too much besides get some utility relocations done. I can't do too much until that, so I can get in there and demo that.
Mr. Batchy, what do we need to vote on this, or does this kind of consensus provide enough for this release, or rolling back a little bit? What's our next step that we need to do?
I think in the past we've always voted on these types of things at the council meeting.
Okay.
Drafted an agenda item and then voted on them.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you and Mr. Potez can coordinate over the next week about some of those things, like he suggested, the radius, and if there is a letters he wants to put together, even a template to us that we can fill in the dates later, or that the dates can be filled in later to get you to approve. But let's get this on the agenda for next week then.
Will do.
To vote on it. So thank you. Mr. Potez, thank you for your availability for this evening's meeting and chatting with us and helping us understand kind of what your needs are in this process. We've been waiting a long time for this bridge, so glad that we're getting closer.
Yep. Yeah, thanks for everyone taking time to discuss it and the consideration.
Great. Thanks. Well, you have an enjoyable evening.
You as well. Thanks, everyone.
All right, we're going to move to 6D, discuss a proposed council discretionary fund request. So we actually have two of these tonight to discuss. I'll jump on first. I put it on the agenda. I had sent out some forms, some proposals to council for something that I've been thinking about for quite a number of years now. So what I'm asking is for funds for us to paint a mural, or have, not us do, but have a mural painted on the side of the DPW garage that is facing Irvine Street, facing Palmer Street. I think it's a building that we own, actually has great visibility to the busway, but something Swissville oriented that can foster a sense of value and pride in our town. So I had contracted a couple of weeks ago some local artists, Max, Scott, and Shane. Scott is actually a Swissville resident. Max and Scott worked together on the Dairy Delight mural. Shane and Max, I believe, worked together on the mural that is on the side of the Cut and Play, the one that has some of the Marvel characters. Plus, I think Spawn is the other individual on the Cut and Play there, right by the Washington Street Bridge. And so they came out last Wednesday and met with Mr. Batchy and myself, and kind of envisioned what this might look like. And so the proposal that I had sent to all of council, basically what I'm requesting is $11,400, and that will be for, I think that's what it was. That amount will be on the agenda for sure next week, but it will be, there will be some opportunities that they are putting together some surveys to solicit some feedback from Swissville residents. It'll say Swissvale with the zip code 15218, and actually the zip code will have there will be an opportunity for Swissvale residents to meet at a certain time to actually kind of tag it themselves, sign their names on that in some way, or put, again, they can explain it a lot better than I could when we get closer to that time. So I know what they sent out looks beautiful. It's just kind of a sample mock-up of what it could look like. It's not, none of those images that they put on are what we're definitely doing. But yeah, that's something that I think will add value and be aesthetically pleasing to the community, add some good art. And yeah, so that's what my proposal is. And I'm open if anyone has any questions for me about that.
I have
Yeah, go
no
ahead.
questions, but I love the idea. I love murals, and I think what you are planning is perfect for Swissville. And I really like it and am excited about it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, and they do great work. They've done, if you've been down to Homestead, along kind of what is the wall that is Barnes and Noble, there's a bunch of kind of historical figures there. They've done that mural. They did one that I loved up in Uptown, which is kind of what gave me the idea that I wanted to request something similar instead of vertically, horizontally for Swissvale. So yeah, they do some really, really beautiful work, and local artists, and yeah, yeah, I'm excited about it.
Great use of the funds, yes.
Yes, thank you. So we'll throw that, Mr. Batchy, on the agenda for next week. Mayor Swartzwelder, I know you had submitted the other one. If you want to share a little bit about your project.
Yeah, so I apologize. I have been thinking about this and trying to get this all together for years. And Friday, we took a walk down Memorial with a potential contractor, and he came up with numbers and ideas and met with Greg and Jordan. And I think we can finally start cleaning up this beautiful park that we have. And I can't wait. So a clean and beautiful community park is vital in Swissvale. And we have this beautiful park with grants. You know, we have a grant for the improvement of the ball field, and we've been working on the grant for improvement of the upper playground, and many grants in the works. And Greg has done a great job along with the Recreation Committee planning all of this. But we still have the maintenance area at the end of the park where it has just such a beautiful view. And I think if we do Swissvale, you know, if we don't clean this up, then we are doing Swissvale a disservice, because this is our park. This is our community park. And so the cleanup will be in 5 phases, totaling about $50,000. I'm investing $22,000 for the initial cleanup. And I would love for anyone who has money to be able to contribute to this cause. So everything was sent in an email to you, and it's you know, it's going to be great for our community and for our children, our baseball players, our community events. It's something we need, and we have great plans for Memorial as long as we clean it up.
Well, I want to
comments.
I want to say thanks, Mayor, for putting this together. I will contribute as well. I amount TBD right at the moment, but I think it's a phenomenal. We have a great park. We have so many events down there, from community days to Juneteenth to people's barbecues and their family picnics and our baseball and everything. It's a great asset that we have, and I think we need to take full advantage of it. And I like the design or the outline that you sent, and the plan. I think it's a solid one, and I think it takes us to the right direction for the future of that park. So thank you.
Yeah, this contractor, he's gung-ho. He's willing to work with Jordan and the maintenance department, and you know, moving everything so it's accessible yet not out in the open, and just to clean up 40 years of dumping.
The dump, exactly.
Yeah.
Other comments? So Mayor Swartzwell, oh, go ahead. I had two question marks that I wanted to ask about it. The first was, so we had talked as a council about trying to find another plot of land to put all of these materials. Is that something that this could, like, if we can move on that we can maybe delay this even by a little bit so that we're not double moving things to do that cleanup, that we can kind of take it and actually move it so it's gone and not just reorganized? Is that something that can be done?
I'm hesitant to do that, and only because we've been working so long to relocate. And I'm not saying that we are actually ever going to relocate, because that still is, you know, up in the air. But there is a tentative plan to move the maintenance part to another part of that area. So they won't be so visible, but yet accessible.
Thank you. I understand. And again, I agree that this is something that is, when you got fridges dumped over the side, you got problems. The second question I had was, and this is, I think, more for Mr. McTiernan. Is he still on here? Oh yeah, there you are. Your picture. I was looking for your name. We are, you know, the proposal you gave was 22,000, which is below what is needed to send out to bid, but isn't it it's in the threshold that we're supposed to get additional quotes before we could actually have sign a contract with someone. Is that correct, Mr. McTiernan?
And what's the question? If it's below that amount, you should get
Yeah,
quote.
so we have the proposal is for $22,000, which that's below the threshold where we have to send it out to bid, correct?
Right.
Do we need to get additional quotes before we move on this? Since because it's somewhere, isn't it like 12 or 13,000 and to like, I don't know, 21, or I guess it would be below.
If it is a biddable issue, if it's not a professional service or something like that, if it is something that would ordinarily be subject to that requort.
So in your opinion, is this or is this not?
Well, would you describe it to me? Then what are we? What's the precise question of what type?
Mayor Swartzberger, can you explain to Mr. McTiernan the scope of work?
So I'm looking to use $22,000 of the ARPA funds to clean up the overlook, we're going to call it overlook, of the Kerry Furnace at Memorial Park. So it is dirt moving, tree cutting, and relocating some of the maintenance area. Also disposing of some of the garbage and dumpsters that are down there.
No, that would be the type of contract that would be subject to those kinds of limitations of getting quotations and things of that nature. Now, if it were something like the artist doing the murals we just talked about, obviously that's not subject to any kind of bidding. But getting quotations is between those figures up to the bid item, which I think is now 23.8. So we're well under the need to bid it. But we should probably get quotations on it if there are other companies that do this type of thing.
Sorry, Mr. McTiernan, this is a little bit of a tangent, but why is the contract with the artist not, I mean, it's below the threshold that we would need to get additional quotes, but why is that type of work not subject in the same way that like a contractor would be?
It's a professional service. It's a artistic service. It's, it is a distinction under the Pennsylvania law. It's almost like hiring an engineer or something like that.
So are
there other to do this type of work or
wait, are we still talking about the murals?
No.
Okay, we're talking about the contractor,
right?
To clean it up.
I didn't hear the question.
Are there other contractors to do this? Would it be a possibility to get bids?
I think there's a possibility, but I've tried. I mean, I haven't had any success.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if you can't obtain bids, if you can show documentation that there's been an effort to get bids, there've been emails sent or calls made, and a good faith effort's been made. Lots of times people go through that process. They may can find only two people that can provide it, or maybe one person. But the basic process is in the borough code of getting quotations. So if you have documentation, Mayor, that you've reached out and the people you've called and you've tried to get people to do this, you try to get quotes, that can be documented. If you can't go get quotes for the work, you can't. So, and if that's satisfactory to the borough that was a good faith effort, well, then that's fine.
Now, would it count if like this contractor is able to do all of this versus having to go out and because I'm sure we could find someone to cut down trees and we could find someone to cut down or to move dirt, but not necessarily find someone that will do all of it. Does that?
Yeah, that can be relevant. I mean, you can't deliberately break things up. But on the other hand, this sounds like a single project. You don't want to have multiple contracts. You don't want to have a lot of people doing it. You want to actually have someone who's in charge, has a game plan, gives you a price to do everything. So that can certainly be a valid scope of work or contract scope. And then if people can't do it, they can't do it. But no, you're not obligated to, have one person on the trees and one person rake the leaves and something like that. It's well, that's the answer, I think. Yeah.
I think that particularly plays into the ability to have found someone that can do it, is that again, they are able to do all of it rather than just getting people to piecemeal this together.
Yeah, if that's there is a scope of service that you provided to them. They've responded in a way that makes it clear the scope of what they're going to do. And then there's the mayor's efforts to reach out to other people, and in effect, doing that work on behalf of the borough for the manager. If he's satisfied that there's some documentation, and even some phone calls or a written statement from the mayor of who she called, that's good, as long as we have documentation that we've gone through that process. But if it makes more sense to do the scope of services the way you're discussing it, no, that's you're not obligated to break it up.
So can we, if we are to put this on the agenda next week, can we put it so that it's allocating these funds and in a way that, kind of that the funds won't be spent until, that like no contract will be signed until either you, Mr. McTiernan, or Mr. Batchy, or both, I'm not sure how that is, feel that has been like you're satisfied with whatever process.
That absolutely can be put on the agenda, and Greg and I can look at it. But from what the mayor said, there have been efforts made and people discussed, and we'll just provide that documentation or those efforts to the manager. I'm sure it sounds very much like they're sufficient. But yeah, I'd be glad to look at that. But
great. I just want to make sure.
The question's a good one, and it's those are steps we should take, and it sounds like an effort's been made to do that. So.
Yeah, because what we would need is we have done this once or twice in the past where you can't source a contractor for a job, and as long as what the auditors look for is they either look for at this dollar amount, they look for written documentation. You only have like to the telephonic quotes. It's basically you can make a phone call, tell somebody what the scope of work is, and then write it down who you talked to, what the amount was. And if you can't find somebody for whatever reason, because people are too busy, people don't want to do the job, you have to show good faith effort to do it. And the auditors do accept that. They have in the past. So,
like we're there.
Yeah. So as far as the agenda goes, if we don't have it on the agenda to award a contract, if it's not on the published agenda by Tuesday morning, we can't award a contract. So would it be prudent to put both the allocation and the contract award on the agenda? And we could always, if we don't have the documentation, we don't have to award the contract, but we would have the allocation on there, because otherwise we can't award the contract if we don't put it on the agenda.
I think that's wise, because under the Sunshine Act, you need that notice.
Right.
Mayor Swartzwelder, I know this is a little bit of a hurdle that was probably unexpected in that. I mean,
okay, because I have documentation.
Great.
So I'll get that to Greg.
Let's put both on, and then as long as Mr. Batchy, you're or Mr. McTiernan are satisfied that that's like what we need to cover our bases, then it's there. It's already on the agenda to vote on.
Yeah, I think that's good. Sounds like we have what we need.
So it'll be two agenda items, one to approve the ARPA allocation. And if Mr. Haynes, if you could let me know before Monday morning how much you want to donate to this. The only problem is, though, if you donate to this, we're going over. Well, you could allocate money to it, but this contract's for 22,000. You could allocate money to it when we go to phase 2. Would use part of your money, use your money at that point. So if you could let me know by Monday morning how much you want to allocate to the project, so that so the agenda item is to allocate X dollars of ARPA of council discretionary funds to the project.
And I'll, sorry, Mr. Haynes, were you going to say more?
Sounds good, Greg. I mean, I'll reach out to you because I want to double check on one other item. But I just want to remind everybody, it's not my funds. It's ARPA funds to the borough, allocated and generously from Josh offered to allow me to come up with some ideas on how to spend some of this money. So thank you.
And yeah, just a reminder of this is like, if there are others that want to contribute to the project, let Mr. Batchy know, because if we can allocate more than we plan to spend on the contract, and whatever's not spent will just sit in the not the general fund, the capital projects fund, kind of earmarked for future use of that project. So, and I think that makes sense if there is even a discrepancy between what's allocated and what is contracted, to have two separate motions for that. So, sound good? All right. We'll move forward with that. Yeah.
Yay.
I like whatever you called it, the overlook. That's a Carrie Furnace overlook. I think that's a great name for it. All right, let's move on to item 6E, discuss adoption of an ordinance for the garbage amnesty program. Mr. Batchy.
Okay, so I resent it out to you Monday. Yeah, I think I don't even know what day it is. Yeah, Monday. And I took the payment plan out. I extended the time frame to 6 months because we talked about last month about if people, rather than doing payment plans, Keystone's suggestion was let the people make their own payment plan and set the money aside and then make a final payment. We decided to go 6 months rather than 3, so people have more time to save the money to try to get up to date. Talked to Keystone again about it, and they said they're saying, and they brought this to my attention last month, and and I told them that we were pretty much sticking to our guns, but they're saying, and talking to their IT people, it's almost impossible to administer it the way we want to do it, based on 100% 100% forgiveness for the first 5 years that you're delinquent, 75% for the next 5, and 50% for the following 5, because the 5-year periods aren't the same for everybody, because yours could be this 5 years, mine could be 5 years over 13 years maybe. Somebody else could be 5 years in a row and such. So we had a conversation yesterday. Their recommendation is to waive the interest on everybody and still apply the penalties. And the reason for that is the model the Keystone uses is they take people to the magistrate to force payment when, as delinquents. And they're pretty successful with that. They've collected far more money than the previous collector ever did, on an annual basis for us. So, but in lieu of doing that, they don't file liens on the properties. So you cannot charge interest if you don't file a lien. So they said there's very few liens filed since 2018 when they took this over. So that would give anybody that's 6 years delinquent, if you waive the
Yeah, Mr. Batchy.
waive the penalties.
Yeah, there you go. I think he
I'm
says
sorry,
the other
I
way
think
the
he said
first
waive
time.
the interest. Yeah, if you waive the penalties on everybody and only charge the interest, the people that are less than 6 years delinquent would pay nothing additional than the amount that was owed, than the face value. The people that are delinquent prior to 2017 would pay the interest that's due from the time of the delinquency, but everybody would have the penalty waived. So it would sort of be like we were talking, people in the first 5 years would be waived at 100%. They would just pay, 100% amnesty on penalties and interest. So they would just get their amnesty. They'd pay their tax, they'd pay their fees, and then the people who have older delinquencies would pay on the interest, the face value and interest only, which is similar to what we were trying to do with having 3 groups, but it would take it down to 2. But the people with the most recent delinquencies wouldn't pay anything additional other than face value. Thoughts on that?
Such complicated math, but yet
Yeah.
it makes sense. Whether you're calling it penalty or interest or whatever, it does make sense that, and it seems to be less complicated than probably how we put it. And it seems to be an easier math formula to work, and it does exactly what we want it to do. So that seems to work. I mean, it is a little late for me to be actually mathing, but it does sound like the math worked.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the last 7 years we're giving full amnesty because we're waiving the penalty and they don't have any interest accrued. And then older than that, like whatever that 2017, I think you said,
17, yeah.
threshold was, we're still waiving the penalty, but there's still some bite to it that they do have to pay the interest. So they're not getting a full amnesty in that portion.
Right. And in speaking to Mr. McTiernan today and explaining to him what what Keystone proposed, if this is something you wanted to move forward with, we could still amend the ordinance and still adopt it next week and then advertise after the fact, like we discussed for another issue a month or 2 ago. We could advertise it after the fact, and then it would be legally binding as long as we advertise within 10 days.
Are you ready to put this on the agenda next week, folks? I expressed my frustration to Greg, Mr. Batchy, that it just felt like this hasn't been easy. We keep getting this like, oh, got to change this, but I think this is an important thing that we just need to get done. So
I will tell Keystone, if we go with this route, we're not changing anything else. And
agreed.
Are we adding the sentence saying that people can pay rather than putting it in a shoebox?
It's in there.
Thank you.
It's in the draft that I sent the other day.
I think it's been very deliberate and very thoughtful. I mean, clearly we've all contributed different ideas as we've tried to hammer this out and work it. And I think that we've finally see some solution that is practical to implement, and yet gives people the opportunity to come to make it right so that they don't have this hanging over their heads. And then the borough, of course, gets its slice of cash. So I think this really works out well. Although I'm not sure how we got here from where we started, but it seems to have come together quite nicely.
Sounds great. Let's put it on the agenda and we'll vote on it next week.
Okay, I'll redraft it and put it on the agenda.
Great, thank you. Let's move on to 6F, discuss a contract proposal for materials testing for the municipal building project.
Part of the project, we need to hire somebody to do materials testing for concrete slumps, steel testing, and other types of concrete testing. For the project, I was looking for the soil compaction testing prior to pouring the footers. Construction Engineering Consultants is located right on Waverly Street in Swissvale. They did the geotech work for the project, where they did the core borings prior to us even demolishing the old building. They provided a proposal of $21,000 to do that work, which I think is pretty reasonable. I expected to be a little higher, but it may be a little lower because they have really no commuting costs. But this is one of those other fees that I've said before, in that extra $750,000 above and beyond the contract. This is one of those fees that we need to obtain the consultant to do that. That's not part of the other contracts we have with CORE or LSSE. So I would recommend that we hire CEC. They did their work in the past with us has been fine. I've used other places, and their Swissvale business just a block away from the borough building.
Is this another one that we need to get telephonic or written quotes?
No, this is professional services, so we don't.
Okay. I still don't understand the difference, but I trust your word on it.
Basically, anybody, like excavation, and dirt moving, basically anybody could do that without any specialized knowledge or skills. Especially just like driving a truck or something. So that stuff needs bid out. Stuff where you have to have professional degrees and licensures and stuff like that is considered professional services. And even like the mural, although the amount for our mural falls underneath the bidding requirements, like a mural could be considered a professional service because I can't do that. I don't know if anybody has the skills here to do that.
I could paint on the side. It just
wouldn't look very good. I could use a roller.
I could do it. I don't know how it would look, but I could give it my college try.
Yep, me too.
All right. Well, thanks for your work in getting that. Any other conversation? Otherwise, we'll put it on the agenda for next week. Okay. Let's move on to 6G, discuss updating the rules and regulations for Memorial Park rentals.
There's some issues that have come up in the past with Memorial Park, with the renting of it. And that would like to try to solidify and try to make it a little better. The first thing is to provide a new application form, which basically requires all applicants to initial every line item that spells out the pertinent rental rules to them. We get a lot of people, I didn't know that, I didn't know that, I didn't know that. And, it's like if you make them sign every line item that you read this, you read this, you read this, then they can't say if they read it, if they didn't read it, that's on them, but hopefully it spurs them to read it. We would make it a violation to play excessively loud music or music with foul or vulgar lyrics, which we've had numerous times down there, which we've gotten a lot of complaints from the neighbors. Would require a sound amplification permit if they're having a DJ present or any type of similar type of DJ equipment. Um, we would proposing to change the hours of operation so that the last party has to close at 8 o'clock. So basically they can be cleaned up and out of there by dusk in the summertime when the park closes. There would still be 2 5-hour periods, but they would be one would be starting out, they both start an hour earlier and end an hour earlier. Specify that if you violate the rules, you'll be banned from future rentals. I know there's a lot of teeth there because they'll just get somebody else to rent it for them, but at least explain it to them. And specify that the police have to be called numerous times, that then they have the right to end the party. Right now it's in there, if they get called more than once, that's the way it's drafted. Um, and it would have to be, the officer would have to use their discretion. It would have to be a real, it can't be just the neighbor above it doesn't like somebody, that's down there, and they would, they're calling to complain about them. If the officer goes down and they see they're in violation, if they tell them they've got to lower the music volume and they say, okay, no problem, they turn down, and then the officer leaves, and 15 minutes later it's blaring again, with foul language or whatever, that there would be the ability to shut the party down. And the other main thing would be to increase the fees from $50 for a half day and $75 for a full day to $100 for a full day and $75 for a half day. Main reason being, we do have people come in on the weekends to clean the parks, and it's actually costing us more to clean than we're getting off the rentals. But we do need to clean them in between, because since COVID, these parks are used, well, not these parks, this park, Memorial Park, is used very heavily. Usually Friday night, Saturday, all day Sunday. So there's a lot going on. The rentals have increased tremendously because people wanted outside venues during COVID, and they found that our park's a nice place to have their party. Because it's relatively inexpensive, and we're only proposing a $25 increase. We're not doubling, tripling, quadrupling, but we're just trying to cover the cost of the people that have to come in and clean.
Does that cover our Sunday double time?
No, we're still gonna lose money on that.
I think we should go to 100 and 150 for 5-hour and full day. $100 is still, I mean, for a 5-hour chunk of time, that's still a deal that you're not going to get at a lot of other places.
I'm more concerned about the Sunday than the $75 half day. I think part of living in a community of multiple means is having an asset that you have access to. I'm more the Sunday concern is the double time, which is rightfully earned by our folks. But there would be a loss on a Sunday rate. But I think 100's a lot for a half a day. If somebody's having a kid's picnic or a kid's party or something, and they want to, it just seems to me like that might be it. 75 is going to be steep for people. But 100 is just the extra zero. The extra 99.99 would sound cheaper for me. But I just think multiple means that it's a diverse community, that 75 is a lot to have a 4 or 5-hour party. 100's a lot, 150 for a full day. If you're having
I'm in agreement with you, because I think that, for some of us who have higher means, right? It's, oh yeah, no, that's affordable. That's great. But we have a lot of people in the community that's actually not affordable. And this is their only means to have a party. And I don't want to price them out of it per se. Yes, I don't mind raising it a little bit, especially on maybe the full day fee. But the poor half day fee, you're struggling to do a little half day, and you're trying to get your little cake down there. And, it's such an affordable way. I mean, I've had parties down there myself because it was affordable. I was able to have a graduation party for one of my children down there, and just a birthday party down there. And a lot of people do that. And it can be their only means of having something where they can have a big gathering. And so I don't want to price them out of that. My only other thing is I understand not playing the music too loud. I think we have to kind of define what excessively loud is, and what time of day that is per se. But the foul language and the vulgar lyrics, everything is foul. I mean, good Lord, have you listened to Sabrina Carpenter? You know, she sits up there and, don't try me, Emma Effer, and she's going on, but it sounds really nice, right? That is, that's really kind of a judgment on what you think is foul. I've heard some languages that they didn't necessarily curse, but wow, if you're adult enough to understand what they're saying, you're like, ooh, oh, okay. But who am I to judge, what music they're listening to? And I just have a feeling that some of the musical categories that people might find more offensive when they hear the language might be categories that they don't listen to necessarily. Because right now, I'm definitely on the Kendrick Lamar kick, and he's saying a lot of things that people might not want to hear. But everybody could be having a dance party where they're doing the Kendrick Lamar dance. And who's going to come down there and say, oh, yes, you need to stop because I heard an F word up in there.
And it's interpretation, because what was that H&R Puff and stuff? That was a whole thing. So when are we going to continue to determine what music is offensive and what music is inoffensive, and based on being down in the valley of that park, how far does that music really spread up into the houses that's up above the community? So I agree with you, Sean. It's all based on interpretation. So we have to be careful of who we are specifically targeting when we say offensive language.
Yeah, I mean, because once again, I've heard different songs, and according to which musical genres I may not like, I'm like, oh, that's offensive language. And because I don't listen to that type of music, so it sounds more offensive to me. But if you listen to that type of music and that's what you're listening to all day, and that's what you hear going by in the cars and stuff, it seems to me that it's a bit specific, that you'll be like, oh, I hear cursing in there, and I'm coming down there to tell you you can't curse or you can't play music where that's kind of censorship there.
That was going to be my second point, Sean. And I agree. I think we need to be as liberal as possible and deliberate as possible when dealing with uh, assessment of noise and language. Um, we just need to be aware and culturally sensitive to be inclusive. So rather than exclusive.
Go ahead, Mr. Miser.
Yeah, two things I wanted to state. First, regarding the price, City of Pittsburgh starts at $162 for a single shelter rental, for all their park shelters, and it goes upwards of $400 for some of the larger shelters. So I don't necessarily think the price point that Mr. Ansel suggested is excessive. I understand that we have a different, we may have a different demographic here in Swissvale, even though I would say, the parts of Pittsburgh are certainly comparable. I wanted to state that. And then the second thing regarding the music, I just wanted to at least say I have personal experience with this. 2 summers ago, I was at that playground with my then 3-year-old child, and somebody had music excessively loud where I could understand every single word that was being said. And it was offensive, and so I understand that we should use discretion, but I do think there is a limit. As Ms. Stribling said, it's in the valley. If you can hear the lyrics clearly from out on Church Street and in those houses along there, I think it's too loud. We can't control what people do in their cars necessarily. I know our police could, but this is our facility. This is our park. And I think it's fair. If using discretion, we do, enforce some sort of noise ordinance, because I've experienced that firsthand.
I would just quickly say, and I think those are really good points, Josh. I would just quickly say that the reason people moved here in Swissvale, or at least I did, is because it was cheaper to pay your taxes here than it was in the city. So yes, the city has higher prices, and so we don't want to be the city because we're not, and that's the reason why people moved out here. I mean, I know I did. I mean, I deliberately looked at what the city was taxing on income tax and what Swissvale was taxing on income tax, and it was a no-brainer for me. I was like, Swissvale, woohoo! This is my place. You know, it's very economical for me, and so I know I'm not the only one. And I mean, I own my home, which means that I deliberately made this choice, and some people, might be renting and have even more circumstances where they want to um not pay those higher prices that they would have in the city. Otherwise, they'd go to the city park. This is an opportunity for us. Open spaces that we have clearly can be class under some kind of classes system, which we have. We're in a capitalistic system. We can't escape it, right? And the only thing we can do is mitigate that by trying to be as reasonable as possible. Once again, we're not even trying to make money off of it, just maybe pay, so that we can have it cleaned up. But we really want to be conscious as we do this and intentional to realize that, particularly, you can raise one, maybe the full day one, but keep that half day one a little lower. Right. So that, people who are just trying to have a good time, who are just trying to, do something special for their kid, that they can afford it in their own neighborhood. That's what we want. We want it to be affordable for everybody. And we can only speak for those who can't speak for themselves because they can't, I mean, that's why I don't live in, I deliberately could only live in this area, right? It's not like I had much of a choice. I couldn't afford some of the housing prices in some of the other areas of Swissvale. This was what I got. Right. And so this is what I have to protect and this is what I have to love because this was the place I could afford to be in. Other people can afford to be in places that cost a little more. But this wasn't it for me. This was it. This was where I could afford to be. And I know there are others who are even at a lower income bracket than I'm at. I'm very fortunate. I don't want to say I always feel poor because I grew up poor, but I'm very fortunate to be where I am, right? And so I also want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to have a party for their kid in the park where they live. That, I mean, it's such a simple thing. So if we raise one of the prices, like the whole day price, right? Because you're paying for the whole day, then yeah, let's raise that a little bit. But keep one of the prices affordable, such as the half day, so that at least somebody can enjoy some time with their kid. And for some people, it may not make a difference. It's to them potatoes, they pay it anyway. But there's a person out there that may make the difference between their kid having a party and their kid not having a party at all. That's all I'm saying.
I just wanted to respond real quick to that. Regarding that, I know we're talking about Memorial Park. Would the fees for Collingwood remain the same?
I don't believe, Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe we rent Collingwood.
No, we do. We rent all the
We do?
pavilions, and we use the same application for all of them.
Okay.
Yeah, because I held my daughter's birthday party at Collingwood a couple of years ago, and we did pay a fee. What I was going to say is, I think even it's obviously a smaller space, so having that at a lower price makes sense to me compared to Memorial, which is a much larger space. And really, my thing with the pricing is, I don't want us to make money off of it, but I don't want the borough to lose money on rentals. We have a shoestring budget. We are all very aware of that. And for us to be losing money on renting out our park, it just doesn't make fiscal sense to me.
So I mean, I'm fine going back with what was originally proposed, 75 for a half day and 100 for a full day for down at Memorial. I appreciate Mr. Miser's suggestion of again keeping Collingwood, recognizing it is smaller, doesn't have the same parking, to keep that at maybe what the previous rate was. When I first read this, I was kind of, what flagged for me was the 2 times police call equals a shutdown. And I didn't like that because that can be abused. And I appreciate the way that Mr. Batchy framed it, that it's, it's at the officer's discretion. It's not, and our officers are good officers. They know when, someone's calling and it's like, they're just trying to be kind of a pain in the butt because they don't want whoever it is there. So I think that's an important key piece of this. And I mean, just to reiterate what Mr. Miser said is, I do think, I mean, I know that like, that some of this vulgar language is it's everywhere, it's across the board, and I get that's what people like to listen to, but as Mr. Miser said, like that there's other, it's a public space, and there's other people that might be using that with small children that don't want to hear that, and I think it is important for our residents to be respectful of how their decisions affect others, that just because they're reserving this place does not give them carte blanche to do whatever they want to do. So I do think that there needs to be some expectation that of noise and kind of the content of the music to be taken into question. But as Mr. Haynes suggested, I think that needs to be with strong discretion in that.
And can that actually be put on the application, kind of pre-warning whoever's renting that, so that it's not like they're going to then be accosted by the police? Maybe just put a disclaimer on the form stating, just some few tips to help them everybody have a nice experience when they rent the park.
I also think the issue should focus more on if the music's really loud rather than the foul language that's being played with the music. Like if you play your music at a reasonable level, no one can really necessarily hear all the lyrics, and it's loud, you're not annoying people. But when it's really excessively loud, then everybody's hearing all your curse words, I guess. But I don't like the once again the foul or vulgar lyrics in there, because there's all kinds of music out there once again. But the how loud it is probably something you can actually say, hey, it's, and I think you can even have a decibel reader, it's so loud, we can hear you 2 blocks over, right? That's loud. But if it's, I really don't want anyone coming up there. Your music, I can hear some curse words. I came down there and I heard curse words when I went down there. Not that they heard curse words 2 blocks away, right? So it should be based on the decibel level, and not the curse words, relatively speaking, because the curse words is a moral judgment. The decibel levels is an annoying, it's hurting my ears, it's loud, right? That has nothing to do with, your moral judgment on whether or not you want to hear that language. And by the way, I don't use that language myself. So I'm just saying that, that's a judgment on whether or not you want to use the language. But definitely excessively loud is a problem.
Go ahead, Ms. Swartzwelder.
I think to kind of, I like Angela's suggestion about the tips and tricks, maybe saying if we conduct ourselves this way, then, everyone can have a great time. And then to tie in what Sean was saying, I think the part about the sound amplification permit could be kind of the answer to all of the issues. Like if someone's down there, as someone who my backyard is the top of Memorial, so I get to listen to all of this music all summer long. I think it's the Bluetooth speaker versus the sound amplification that creates the sound issue. And, again, play whatever you want. I enjoy a lot of the music that gets played down there, but when it is, again, excessively loud that I'm sitting in my living room with the TV on and I can still hear what's happening, that's where the issue is. And again, maybe it's just the delineation between using a Bluetooth speaker and using a sound amplification system, because they create much more noise. That might be, and I see that it's already in the agreement, that might be the answer. And that also gives we'll say the police a point. If they are called for excessively loud music, they say you don't have a permit to have this sound system. I need you to turn it down or unplug it, or you're going to have to be removed.
Can I propose an amendment to your proposal, Chris, of What if we were to do 50 for half a day, 100 for a full day, a $25 premium on Sundays? So there's still that $50 afternoon, like $50 half day on Saturday, where if somebody wants to have their kid's birthday party, they can do it for $50 on a Saturday, which is worst case scenario, time and a half for us, a couple guys down there cleaning up, versus a Sunday where you've got, a couple guys down there at double time. Still gives them the opportunity to use the park and all the amenities at the lower rate on a Saturday for half a day, but you get the higher rate for the full day as you've recommended. And for Saturday morning, Saturday half day, and Sunday half day, Sunday full day, because of the overtime. But Saturday, there's still that little window, a half day on Saturdays. You could have your kid's birthday party or something like that for $50. Just a
Mr.
little.
Batchy, yeah, Mr. Batchy, how does that sound fiscally?
I mean, it's just, it helps on Sunday having it at a higher rate, to get to recoup the cost. Now, there's only one guy at a time down there, so it's one guy on Saturday, one guy on Sunday, and it's based upon what the rentals are. And if Sunday there's only one rental, nobody comes in. It just stays like that till Monday, and we clean it up on Monday. It's only for the in between when we do the cleaning. But what I was going to suggest is if we increase the rates, that we maybe keep Collingwood the same, because there's no restroom facilities over there. The only thing at Collingwood is a water fountain. In Memorial, you have the access to the restrooms, and maybe that garners a higher rate because you have more facilities. There's more stuff for the kids.
Was that even brought up in the beginning, or was this just Memorial? Because I believe this was just Memorial until somebody asked about Collingwood.
This is for all the parks. I mean, this is the new park application.
I still am pretty firm at the $50 at the Memorial.
Yeah, I still think that, Memorial is a park we want our people to enjoy and not just stick them at Collingwood. There's nothing wrong with Collingwood. I'm just saying that our residents should enjoy all of their Swissvale, as much of it as they can. We don't have too many places, and we don't have a water sprinkle park, which we have to go to Swiss Home Park for. So the most we can do to let people at least enjoy it, for their little half day. And then, like you said, I think raising it for that Sunday helps, because that's a premium day. It might well, to me, I'd rather have a party on Saturday, frankly. But if that's the day that it costs the most to clean, then it makes sense to have it at a little higher rate on that day.
So let me just ask this. I mean, kind of take a straw poll for consensus, to see how we want to have this to vote on next week. Can I so basically the two options that I'm proposing right now are either Collingwood remains the same, Memorial Park moves to 75 for half day, 100 for full day, or $50, it stays what it currently has been, where 50 for half day, 100 for a full day, 75 is kind of that premium day for Sunday. So option one is what was in the proposal. Option two is the keeping it $50 for the half day with the premium Sunday. So can I just get a quick kind of show of hands of where people are leaning in terms of plan one? Okay, and plan two? Okay, so I didn't see anything. Okay, plan two for Mr. Okay, so it seems like plan two is the one that has the more populous perspective. So let's put that as the one that we're going to be voting on next week. And just because we could keep talking back and forth about prices for the next hour, and that's not really going to be productive for any of us. So is that,
you reiterate what plan two
yes.
is?
So plan two is $100 for full day, $50 for half day. With the exception of Sunday, there's an extra $25 kind of premium fee assessed because if there is cleanup, that is assessed at a higher rate cost to us.
So 50 and 100 on Saturday, 75 and 125 on Sunday.
Yes, you're okay with that, Mr. Haynes? So
yeah, I'm just saying the $25 premium, because
just
it's
for Sunday. Yep.
That makes sense to me.
Sounds good.
Okay. We'll make
All right.
that change.
And we will vote on that next week. And it's good. I mean, it's good that we can vote on this because and not have to like table and keep discussing, because I know they paused like that you can submit an application, but we're not accepting payments right now until we figure this out so that we can be very clear with those who are going to be running over the summer, fees, structure, expectations, etc. So,
And
all
are
right.
is Collingwood going up also, or is Collingwood staying the same?
Well, I
Staying
think,
the same,
yeah,
I
let's
think
keep
is what we
Collingwood the
said.
same.
Okay.
Yeah. Which would be
All right.
50 and 75, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's do that. Okay. So that's G. Let's move on to 6H, discuss police hiring and interviews.
Okay, so the Civil Service Commission at council's, or let me take it back, at Chief Watson's request, council asked the Civil Service Commission to start the process to hire entry-level patrol officer and entry-level patrol officer to replace an officer who resigned in December. The Civil Service Commission met. We advertised. We conducted physical agility tests, written exams, and oral exams. We had 3 applicants for the one position. One of the applicants did not pass the physical agility test, so that person was disqualified from the process. 2 moved on to the written exam and both passed that, and then they both passed the oral exam. The scores were certified by the Civil Service Commission last Thursday, March 20th. They met and they certified the scores. The next step in the process is typically now council will do a final interview with both candidates. Since there's only 2, you can hire either one of them because you have to hire out of the top 3 unless one of them is a veteran, then you're obligated to hire the veteran. Neither one of these applicants are veterans, so you have your choice of which one you hire. In the past, we've always, council's always done the interview where we set a time basically, and anybody who wants to come comes. If you don't, that's fine too. So we're at a point now where we have an officer that's going to be having surgery on his knee in the coming weeks, and it's going to be off for a few weeks. If, it may be good, we can get somebody hired at the next meeting next week. And if so, if you're inclined to do so, do you want to do interviews prior to the meeting on Wednesday, or do you want to do them some other time between now and then, or do you want to do them for May, for next month?
Please, God, no extra time on the meeting for next week because this one is killing me. So if we can do it any other day, that would be marvelous because it would be the only thing we're doing is just interviewing these wonderful people who want to work for us. Like just not on the meeting day that we have next week, Wednesday, please. Thank you.
I think it would be great if we can hire before next Wednesday, as we said. So I don't know if maybe following the meeting, not that it has to be tonight, but even tomorrow morning, Mr. Miser, Mr. Batchy can kind of get together to figure out, what would be a good date to have these 2 interviews. I think trying to do them back to back would be best.
Absolutely.
And then just throwing it out there. This is when it's going to be, and as many of us as can attend, great. And we will hopefully vote next week. That would be my suggestion.
I would agree.
Would it be beneficial for, let me just throw this out there, let me just show of hands, to do it 8 o'clock in the morning, noon, 4 o'clock, 7 o'clock? I mean, do people prefer Fred saying 7?
I don't know, mornings or evenings work for me as long as it's not Thursday.
8 always works for me.
Yeah, it won't be Thursday, we have to do it. It's got to be Monday or Tuesday, so.
Yeah.
Monday 7. Does that work for everybody?
Did you say Monday?
Monday at 7?
Bingo,
PM?
that works for me.
PM.
Okay.
Any objections?
No, that should be fine.
Let's put it in. And again, we've opened it up to all of council, but all of council does not have to be there. So Mr. Miser, I don't know if you still have a list of questions that we've asked in the past as from police committee, if we can use those again, and
Yep.
I think it's a good standard.
Just
Yeah.
so you're aware, both of the applicants have, one is a current employee and one is a former employee. So,
Yeah, one's a current part-time patrolman, and the one was a previous part-time patrolman who moved to onto another department, has expressed interest in coming back here full-time.
So, Mr. Batch, if you could reach out to those to see if, I mean, Lord willing, Monday at 7 is going to work for them too, and everything will line up, and we can have those interviews.
Yeah, I'll have Chief Watson reach out to them.
Okay.
I will
perfect.
take care of that.
Okay.
Great. That was much easier to find a time than I expected.
Thank
Great.
you.
And let's put that on the agenda, and we can vote on that next week.
Thank
Ready
you.
to move on? Yeah, you're welcome. Let's go to 6I, discuss proposed changes to the Civil Service Commission rules and regulations.
In the process, when we were having the meeting, the civil service meetings for the to hire candidates, Chief Watson brought to the Civil Service Commission his attention and asked them if they would consider recommending a change in the civil service rules and regulations. And the change that he's asking for is to allow people who are not Act 120 certified, which Act 120 certification is municipal police officer certification, to allow people who are not Act 120 certified to apply for a position as long as they will receive their Act 120 certification before they're actually hired. So basically, people in the academy, current people that are ready to graduate the academy, could apply for the jobs. One of the things is there's an academy class right now that they're close to graduation, and some of those people could have applied for this position, but because they're not Act 120 certified yet, that they were not eligible to apply. This could open up the pool of applicants for us a little bit in the future, because we need to do anything we can to get people to be eligible to apply, because it's like I said, we had 3 applicants for this position. If this was 10 years ago, we would have probably had 30 applicants for this one position. So things have changed drastically in the policing field. Less people are going into it. It's more competitive because, there's a lot of people at retirement age now. So the Civil Service Commission did pass a resolution to approve that change. If council would be willing to do that, then you would have to pass the same resolution that they did. In order to make that change. And it would only apply to, people that are basically people would be in process in the police academy, ready, nearing graduation, and they would apply, because the chief could go out to the Allegheny County Academy, the Westmoreland County Academy, the IUP Academy, and try to recruit people and say, hey, look, we're going to be hiring, with an expected hiring date of this time. Get your applications in, talk to the teachers and instructors and say, who do you recommend, and go basically recruit them, sit down, talk to them, get them to apply. Because if you get them in full time right out of the academy, you're going to be much more likely to stay than getting them part time.
Sounds like a good idea.
To make that an agenda item?
Sounds like it. Yep. I don't hear any nays.
Yep, go ahead. Let's go and recruit them early. Recruit them early and lock them down. There you go.
All right, let's move to 6J, discuss Airbnb ordinance as it relates to the 2026 NFL draft.
This is something Councilmember Swartzwelder brought to me and asked if this was a possibility. Basically allowing people to rent their properties as an Airbnb, regardless of what the zoning ordinance is during the 2026 draft, because there will be a lot of people looking for housing in the area, because the draft apparently brings several 100,000 people to the city that hosts it. So she asked me if we could put this on the agenda. Do you want to expound on that, Ms. Swartzwelder?
No, I just and I don't know if it needs to be an in-depth conversation tonight. I just kind of wanted it to be out there as a thought, and maybe a further discussion, because thinking about the what's the golf outing? Yeah, the Open. That's a huge event for areas like Oakmont and Plum. And I know that they don't necessarily make any changes to their ordinance, but it's something that occurs there. And I think this could potentially be an opportunity. And maybe the Airbnb ordinance isn't what we want for Swissvale, but that's kind of where I started with the idea. But this is, I think, could be a huge opportunity for our businesses and just Swissvale in general to kind of capitalize on all of those people being around. And I don't know about the legalities of it or anything, but I know that there's things online about the opportunity to rent your house to help with the excessive crowds coming in and the hotels that are going to be overflowing with people. So, like I said, not that it needs to be a huge discussion tonight. If people don't want to talk about it, then maybe we discuss it at a later time, or if people have other ideas, then we can go from there.
Go ahead, Mr. Haynes.
All right, I had to click two buttons. Are we looking to pass this next week, or is there time for discussion?
Time for discussion. We got lots of time.
Okay. I would propose that we have more discussions about it. Having lived through hell with the Airbnb up the street, and everyone's very familiar of that hell. I think we have to be very, very, very careful. But I appreciate your thought that I agree with you that this would be a good draw to Swissvale of some sort, even if we have some sort of major cool event or something, I don't know. But I mean, I would partner with you on trying to come up with a solution. But Airbnb scares me.
Yeah, and I think it's right to be wary. I mean, this would be just this isn't indefinitely. This would just be for a couple days, like a long weekend. I guess it'd be over a Thursday, is usually draft begins on Thursday at least. And it would be primarily, I would guess, it would not be a party house, but it would be people who are staying here, similar to the U.S. Open, with the intent of spending as little time as possible, probably in that dwelling. But I think, like you said, it's right to be wary. We've got time. I mean, it's not going to be till April of 2026 that would take place. So, Mr. Meiser.
I agree. We can discuss it at a later point, but I believe Chief Wilhelm was trying to raise his hand. Am I correct there?
Oh, sorry. It was applauding hands, so I thought you were celebrating something.
I'm still technically illiterate.
That's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a solution.
Yes.
I've been working with David Mongelo about passing an Airbnb ordinance because it's already regulated through the zoning ordinance, but we were going to create a licensure ordinance, which we've discussed over the last several months. I was working to get a package together to bring these three ordinances together, one updating the IPMC and the IFC to the 2021, which is taking effect for the state Uniform Construction Code July 1st, but also an Airbnb ordinance. What are your thoughts about this? Why don't we write into the Airbnb ordinance something along the lines, it's going to be regulated throughout following the zoning and everything else, but how about, and we can check with Mr. McTiernan, if we put something in there for unusually large regional events or metropolitan regional events, council can, by resolution, waive that requirement for no more than a 5-day period on a case-by-case basis. So that way, you're not passing an ordinance to overturn another ordinance, because that's basically what this would do. You're passing one ordinance that conflicts technically with the zoning ordinance. But if we were going to try to do a licensure ordinance anyways, and I got sidetracked. I've been sent this off to David months ago, and then everything else comes up, and fires have to be put out and everything else. And my deadline was July 1st for the other two, so we were just going to try to roll them all together and bring them out to you at the same time. But Mr. McTiernan, does that sound like something that we might be able to work out in that Airbnb licensing ordinance?
Well, we could look at that. That's a possibility. What's a short-term rental under our current ordinance in terms of
less than 30 days? Are you there? He froze.
It's
You froze, Mr. McTiernan, for the last.
At that,
This is good.
I'm not frozen, but we could look at something like that. I mean, yeah, because you don't want to be basically suspending your ordinance. If you're going to do something like that, you might want to build it into the ordinance.
That's what I was thinking would be a solution and it would have to take a resolution of the majority of council for that small, we can define that unique situation that might address this. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, well, if council wants to do that, I think that's the best way to do it, to make it part of the ordinance rather than just suspending enforcement of your own ordinance.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it provides opportunities that we're not passing ordinances and just going back and forth with, it's on the books, or not on the books, but it's on record and it's you don't have to abide by it for this window of time, that it's by case, by resolution, by council. I think it makes sense. Let's keep exploring it. Council, you now have kind of been informed on this idea. Like, let's keep thinking about it. And if you have thoughts or feedback, you can let Chief Wilhelm know. But I think that's a good track to begin going down with Mr. Mangelo. All right. Hearing no other comments, shoot, clicked the wrong button. Let's move on down to 6K, discuss ratifying or recalling Black History Month awards. So I put this on the agenda because we handed out Black History Month awards at the beginning of last month. And I had received some feedback from various council members of various elected officials that there was some frustration with one of the awardees that was picked. And I know there's kind of some back and forth about it. And I thought that, I know Ms. Stribling kind of had a desire to bring this up at the end of last meeting, but it didn't really fit with the way in which our, discourse, our deliberation was supposed to take place. So kind of kicked it to this month so that we could have a conversation. You can see that, I sent an email to all of council kind of just giving a quick update about this, just to reiterate what that is, so that they knew what to expect is, the DEI committee put together this list of honorees, kind of on behalf of council. And in some sense, we're doing similar to what we do with, at least in this one that is kind of a question mark, as we do with the fire committee, that the fire committee will often hire a new firefighter and then it is ratified by all of council. So I wanted us to have an opportunity to have a discussion around it, and either as a council speak to ratify the decision that was made, or to say, you know what, we don't think that was a quality candidate and we want to recall that award. So that's kind of the baseline of why we are having this conversation now. And I will open the floor to any comments. Well, we'll start with Mr. Miser.
Yeah, I'll just start by saying that I am planning to vote to ratify this. I do not feel, although I understand the concerns that have been raised, I don't feel that it's council's place to come in and try to recall an award after it's been given, especially based on things that may or may not have been known to council before this. You may find it hard to believe, but I have a criminal history, and I would hope that wouldn't discount me from where I am in the present moment. And I understand if things continue, I hope that justice will be served one way or the other, but this is not the way I want justice to be served, by publicly recalling an award for somebody. So that's all I'm going to say on the matter. I will be voting to ratify it.
Go ahead.
First and foremost, I don't believe the awards, any of them, should have been given out in council's name without a ratification of council, or at least consultation of council. These names, I didn't know about the names until the day we got the agenda, and the individual in question's name wasn't even the name, their legal name. It's just it's a name that they go by, which I support 100% if people wanted to go by a different name. But I think what's most important here is that specific individual has ongoing legal proceedings before Swissvale, and it is not council's position or role to involve themselves in any legal proceedings or second guess or question the police until it's such time that we need to do so. There's a process in place, and by interjecting ourselves as in the name of council, I think we're overstepping our role here by doing so. When that person can use that certificate to go to court and say, council says I'm a great citizen, what does that say to our police? And I think our police union rightfully expressed their concerns to council in a legal format and legal form, which is protected under their collective bargaining rights. And I support them doing so. I believe that council should be consulted prior to using the name of council, and the majority of council should approve the use of the name of council. I was told that was the rule when I wanted to promote a business or celebrate a business. I was told that it needed to be the majority of council, no one individual or less than the majority could use the name of council. So I respect that, and I believe that we should be respecting that all around. Our police officers do an excellent job every day, and they deserve our support. And as they're in the middle of legal proceedings under the name of Swissvale, which they are legally responsible and entitled to use, we as the legislative body have inserted ourselves in a process that we don't belong. That's why I'll be voting no. I'll be voting to recall all of the awards, because quite frankly, you can't use one individual or three individuals can't use council's name. I think the concept of the award is a noble one, and I think it's one we should celebrate and need to celebrate. Black History Month is extremely important. Every day is important. But Black History Month is a month we get to pause and say, okay, it's Black History Month. We need to celebrate Black excellence every single day, not just Black History Month. But those awards, last year when they were awarded, I don't believe they said on behalf of council. I believe it said on behalf of the DEI committee. This year's award said on behalf of council. And there was no vote, no consultation prior to the awards. So for that reason alone, I think they should be recalled, and we need to have a clear understanding of how we're going to operate as a council. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Quinn.
So I prepared statements for tonight due to my wisdom teeth being pulled out, so I had to be ready. But I'm here before you all, not just as a member of this council, but as the only Black man and the only openly queer Black man serving on this council. That intersection of identities has not been easy to carry, but I carry it with pride, because I know who I am and who I fight for. I'm here tonight to speak in support of Mr. Larry Heath, June the Barber, a man who has given back to our youth, to our families, to this community, not for recognition, but because he believes in people. He believes, as do I, in second chances. And he believes in giving dignity where it's too often denied. In 2009, I walked the halls as a student of Morehouse College. I slept in the same dormitory that the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did. The spirit of justice, dignity, and moral courage is not just history at Morehouse, it is a charge. Dr. King once said, "The time is always right to do what is right," and I believe tonight is such a time. It is right to honor a man who has provided free haircuts to children across the Pittsburgh region for years. It is right to recognize someone who has partnered with Pittsburgh Public Schools and the Pittsburgh Steelers to serve our youth, many of them Black and brown, many from struggling families, with confidence and care. It is wrong to try to discredit that man with whispers about his past, especially after we stood before him, shook his hand, and handed him a plaque during Black History Month. That's not just political, it's personal, and it's harmful. Let's call it what it is, a textbook example of how Black men are often celebrated one day and vilified the next, of how redemption is extended to some while denied to others, of how systemic racism doesn't always come in burning crosses, but in quiet emails, behind-the-scenes character attacks, and attempts to erase progress that make some people uncomfortable. We talk a lot about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. But DEI is not about photo ops and buzzwords. It's about who we honor. It's not about who we honor when it's convenient. It's about standing by people who have grown, who have given, and who have earned their seat at the table, even if their story doesn't fit someone's idea of perfection. If there are concerns about Mr. Heath's business, then let's have a constructive conversation. Let's build, not break. Let's lead, not lash out. Because tearing down a man who has served our children and has done so with humility is not leadership. And if I can be here today as a queer Black man in elected office, despite all the odds stacked against me, then surely Junior Barber deserves to be honored for the work he has done to uplift the community. Let's not let fear win. Let's not let respectability politics erase real impact. Let's do what is right, because the time is always right to do so. And I'll be voting to ratify on next Wednesday.
And all I would like to add is, taking from John 8:7, only those who are without sin should be the first to condemn others. So I will be supporting Mr. June Heath, also known as Judah Barther, on Wednesday.
I just wanted to say that I am not here to argue that Mr. Heath contributes to the Black community, because I think that his work is extremely important with the city of Pittsburgh. But until this point, I have not made any public comments regarding this matter, despite the accusations that I am attempting to publicly discredit Mr. Heath. I simply don't believe that it's appropriate for him to receive an award for being a community leader and serving the Swissvale community. A public court record search shows that just in the last 3 years of his business being in Swissvale, over 35 court cases, 25 of which have resulted in guilty pleas to various matters of disorderly conduct, unreasonable noise, engaging in fighting, and criminal trespassing, have been executed and still have active cases with the Swissvale police. We received a letter from the police union stating their discomfort with the award and the optics it creates, due to much of the fact that they have made over 100 service calls to his business. This isn't a personal matter, it's a community matter. Because while Mr. Heath serves in the Pittsburgh region and serves our youth, he does not serve as a good leader in Swissvale. And from what the award states, that's what we're giving him an award for. Not just a Black History Month, but being a community leader, and I don't believe in that.
I've been on council for 4 years, going on 4. If this man was such a nuisance, I've heard of Wilson's Night Out catering. I have never heard this man's name come up at this table at any point in time until it was time for him to receive something positive. Now, to me, it sounds like this is something personal. And if it is, I really would hope someone would just state that. As I state in other meetings that I have for the fire committee, where we, interview others and have actually given second chances for situations worse than this, because I believe where some people don't understand, nobody is perfect. We all fall short, but that doesn't mean we need to be condemned. And also there's people, and I thank you, Josh, for stating that you too have fallen short. But in life, we deserve second chances. And we're not going to condemn this man because of the choices he's made. Now, maybe this might be his moment to change his life. But I've never heard anything negative about this man, and I didn't even know him until this situation came up. But I'm still going to stand on my principles for what I believe in, because if it was wrong, we would have never brought this up in the beginning, and my son would have not have been allowed to have him on this position. But I'm not changing my mind, and I'm not changing my conviction on it. Again, nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect on this council. And we need to learn to search ourselves to have that understanding that we deserve to have people do changes in life and make it be okay, because nobody would be where we are if we didn't.
Go ahead, Mr. Miser.
Sorry, I said I was done, but I just wanted to add one thing. I do want to agree with a point that Mr. Haynes made, even though I know I'm in the other camp of voting on this. I agree that we should not be involved in his legal matters. We shouldn't. Whether we're going to call him guilty, not guilty, we're not involved in that. That is for our police, that is for our justice system to handle. This award was given based on his merits as a Black man in our community and what he does for the community. There may be things that people feel discredit him for those merits, but those merits still stand on their own. And so I agree. It's not our place to be the judge and jury in this case.
I just want to say that, as the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, this was about Black History Month. The 3 Black people on council looked at the people in our community and said, this was somebody that they wanted to honor. It wasn't up to everybody. I don't even understand why it was made a big deal of, like, council didn't ratify it. Council, I don't even understand that, because that never happened before. When you're like, oh, that's who you want to honor, go ahead. Then all of a sudden it's become a big deal. There are plenty of people that I've seen that have had run-ins with the law for a variety of reasons. I have, unfortunately, been pulled over in Pittsburgh at least 4 times for driving while Black on my way to work for no other reason. 4 times, right? And somebody could say, hey, she shouldn't be doing what she's doing because she was pulled over. Why? I wasn't convicted of anything. I'm sitting here, I'm doing my own thing, right? That's a very contentious issue in the Black community, to sit there and bring up whatever their police record is. People are doing things in a variety of ways, right? I think that there are 3 intelligent people that were in the room. We discussed it. Everybody had, the people they brought up that they thought had great merits. I just think it's a shame that here in this public forum, this man's difficulties are being brought up. I think that's shameful, and that's what happens, right? That, he's doing whatever he's doing, but his difficulties are the thing people want to focus on. What about the good things? The good things that he's done that are very important, right? And that's what we're honoring. I'm just saying, that's what we're honoring. The good things that he's done, that people felt, I didn't see anybody that I've walked amongst say anything negative about him. I mean, I don't even know anything negative about him. That's not my world, right?
Right.
It doesn't matter. What matters is he did something that people thought was great.
Hold on one second.
I mean, as a person of color,
Sean, can you just hold on one second? I'm sorry, Ms. Swartzwelder, can you wait for her to finish her comments, and then I'll give you an opportunity to speak. Go ahead, Ms. Alfonso Wells, continue.
I'm just saying, right, that it's, especially during Black History Month, as if we don't have, we can't honor our own folks. We can't honor the people in light of everything that's going on in the world, right? Oh, no, that's the wrong choice. You don't have to be perfect to be a good role model. You don't have to be perfect, because nobody's perfect. We all have things that we've done or said or felt that weren't the best or perfect thing in the world, right? But we're all living every day. And if you have the kindness in your heart to do something for other people at any point in time, that should be honored. Maybe that one kindness in the world will change your life or somebody else's life. That's what it's about, right? And that's why it was important for us to acknowledge that. And that's why I'm ratifying it. That's why I think that it should go through. I would never pull somebody's award over, whatever else is going on in their life. This could be the change that makes the change in the world. We don't know. We all know that we're not perfect, right? And Josh, once again, you are such an amazing person. I thank you for being vulnerable. I thank you for bringing things to light, because people don't have the courage to do that. And to know that you are not perfect makes me realize I'm not perfect. None of us are perfect. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Swartzwelder.
This isn't a matter of what he has done in the past. It is what he is doing currently and how his actions reflect what is going on in Swissvale. There are neighbors who refuse to walk down Monongahela because of the disruption that his business causes. There are neighboring businesses. There are people that rent above him that have moved out because of the disturbances. I don't believe that is leadership. Whenever a young man or woman walk into a place of business that is a barber shop and they see liquor bottles lining the shelves, is that the role model that we want? Is that the role model that we want to award?
I think that's a question for their parents, though. That's not a question for us as council to answer.
Mr. Quinn, let Ms. Swartzwelder finish. If you want to respond, put your hand up and I'll let you go after. Go ahead, Ms. Swartzwelder.
I don't agree with awarding someone a leadership award like this. That's all.
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Hold on one second, Mr. Haynes. Mr. Quinn,
that takes precedent.
What takes precedent?
Parliamentary inquiry.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were making a statement.
No, parliamentary inquiry. Mr. McTiernan, is my position correct that no individual on council is permitted to use the name of council?
Well, I think in this case, there was a delegation or this had been done in the past. I don't know if there's any law or rule that says you can't speak in favor of council, but this is my understanding is this committee was allowed to make this selection in the past. Now, I don't know if I'm answering your question.
No, I mean, if you're going to issue an award on behalf of council, does that not need to be voted on by council?
Well, I think I don't know. This award, my understanding is this award in the past has been awarded by the DEI committee. Now, whether you're objecting to the way they framed it or what they called it, I don't know, but it
was written as an award on behalf of council.
Yeah. Well, maybe they were trying to give council credit for what they were doing. I don't know. There's no law that says they can't say that. Obviously, any official action of council would have to take a vote of council. But the fact
this is not an official act of council then.
Well, they put the name of council on the award. That was not. They just gave that as part of their charge from council, is my understanding.
And we actually didn't put that. Sean, did you indicate for Sarah to spell it out like that? We didn't.
That's how it's spelled.
Right. Well, that wasn't how we decided to do it, but over the years, and I've been here every time we've done it, we did not speak to it. Nobody had any input other than the DEI committee going forward. And I'm going to say this last thing. We have a person in office at the highest level with 38 felony convictions, and he runs the law of the land. Now, if he can be president of the United States of America, Mr. Barber can definitely receive a plaque from a borough in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And that's all I got left to say on it.
I don't know that my question was the answer. So it's not an official act of council, correct? Mr. McTiernan?
And look, my understanding of the situation is the DEI committee has always been delegated the decision-making power to make this award. And that is council has acquiesced in that every year. Now, who made the decision to put it on the plaque? I don't know. But, I know that they have been given that authority.
Is there a recorded vote that we have acquiesced that authority in some form or fashion, or at least this council has?
Well, I don't. Are you asking me a question?
I'm just asking in general. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that a vote was ever taken for that. I think that this is something that has been, as Mr. McTiernan said, I feel like acquiesced speaks to the fact that it has been permitted by council, that they have made that, and council has gone along with it, apart from taking any formal action on that for the last 4 years.
Yeah. Okay. I just think, quite frankly, that things have happened that were not correct in the past in general, and just because they were accepted in the past doesn't mean. I mean, we should be following the rules. If council acts as a uniform, as a body, then council acts as a body. I understand committees. The fire committee can interview someone, and the police committee can interview someone, and propose.
No, and hire. They can start working before we ratify.
But if it's not ratified, they lose their job, correct?
Sure, yes. But it's the same type of thing. We're talking about ratifying or recalling this award.
Well, let me say that as well, that there's nothing in the law that says you can't allow a committee to give an award. You could have a veterans committee that would give an award to to honor a particular veteran. There's nothing that says you can't have a committee give an award. When you're talking about some of these other things, the law provides there has to be a vote of council in order to accomplish it. There's nothing like that with an award. There's nothing legally barring a municipality from having a committee. Maybe you'd have your recreation committee give it to the the little leaguer of the year. There's nothing illegal about that.
Well, I'm not saying I'm just saying it's not. It's not an active council. I just don't think it's appropriate that any one committee use the name of council.
Yeah, I think you're maybe going into the future. If you want to handle it differently, you certainly can. But as long as this has been the committee's been in existence, they have been delegated, or it's certainly been understood that they would make these selections. So I don't think there's anything illegal about it.
So I haven't made any comments on this yet. So I think what I'm hearing kind of two separate issues that we're addressing. One is the specific award with June the Barber and whether or not he is deserving of it. And the other one, which is kind of what Mr. Haynes is focusing on here, is the process, the procedure to get here. And I think that it going forward, and I did talk to, I don't know if it was Ms. Alfonso Wells or Ms. Stribling about this, that I think going forward it would be helpful for all of council to receive those names ahead of time. We did receive it 2 days before we all voted, and we did discuss it, not with any names, but discuss that we were handing out awards the week beforehand. So it's not like this should come as a surprise to council that these decisions were made. And arguably, yes, I think the DEI committee, it would have saved a little bit of grief, perhaps, if they had sent names to everyone a week ahead of time. But I knew what the names were ahead of time because I asked Mr. Batchy. And I think any other council member could have asked Mr. Batchy and said, hey, we just talked about honoring people. Who is it that we're honoring? And I saw the name and I actually talked to Mr. Quinn and said, what, Mr. Quinn, like, Fred, like this isn't my favorite candidate. Here's the reasons why. But I deferred to him, said that I respected his decision in this, but I spoke my piece in that off. Again, that was just a personal conversation with him, not in any kind of deliberative fashion. So I think that there are things that could have been done differently, yes, from the DEI committee. But I also think those who are complaining about the process, who kind of acquiesced last year, had the opportunity. You could have taken your own initiative to do some research in there, to have that. To figure out who that was. I think that was a possibility. So going forward, I think it would be helpful if the DEI committee does give us those names that they have brainstormed, maybe by the agenda meeting so that we can consider it and have a little bit more time. So again, we can't, in reference to the complaints about policy, that's what we're doing right now. We are either ratifying or we are recalling. We can't go back and change what we did, but we can try to, make it right. If the concern is that it wasn't a full, vote of council, well, council can make their will known on this particular award and either ratify it or recall it. And then going forward, we can change how we think about those things. So that's my points on that one. On the other side of things about Mr. Heath, what I said to a couple of individuals, I sent an email with some folks that I knew had some divergent feelings about this, and Blind Carbon copied all of them, just kind of throwing this out there, encouraging them to work this out. But what I said there was two things can be in tension and be simultaneously true at the same time. This is called antinomy. Not antimony, which is an element, but antinomy, where two things are both true. Light is a wave, light is a particle. Which is it? Yes. And I think both at the same time, Mr. Heath, has not been a great neighbor. And I can attest to that. I've walked past the store where there's been vulgar music blaring, and I recognize that. And I think that is a problem in the community. And so I am very sympathetic towards why some people are frustrated with that. And at the same time, Mr. Heath can embody the spirit of Black History Month as the DEI committee views it. And we've heard multiple times the ways in which Mr. Heath has, or June the Barber has done so. And so those things are competing ideologies, but both can be true at the same time. And I am in a very similar position as Mr. Miser, that while as I said to Fred, wasn't my favorite candidate to pick, but I respect his decision. I respect his autonomy. I think it would be a pretty poor look for me as a white man on council to say, you know what, DEI committee, no, that's not a candidate you can pick. And so I think giving that autonomy to the DEI committee is important, allowing them to have their voice and not trying to silence their voice. And so I also will be voting to ratify next week.
I just also want to say something. Chris, you made a very good point. I think people should really look at the optics of how they present things, because it does look really weird when the 3 Black people on the committee are being told and fingers waggling at them that they can't choose who they want to choose for Black History Month. That's a little odd. I'm going to point it out because I don't think anyone's going to say it. Otherwise, it's very odd, right? Please don't tell adult people how they should choose other adult people in their own communities to honor, right? Because that would be very odd. I will say, I'm not going to use any other words, but odd, right? We're all adults, right? And we all have autonomy. And this is one thing that the African American members on committee have as their own thing that they do for other African American members in the community. So please think about the optics of how you appear when you sit there and you say, I'm not saying anyone has any ill intentions. I clearly there's controversy going on, right? But what I'm saying is think about the optics of it, right? Think about the world we're living in and the optics of what you say and how you say it and who you're saying it to, right? I'm not going to be quiet. I'm not going to be quiet about that. I'm trying to tell you so you can learn something, right? Because as an adult woman, I don't like to be told that, oh, you couldn't see something. We're adults over here, right? And we do things with a purpose. And so please don't try to tell us we don't know what we're doing and that we are somehow, we don't understand. We're adults, right? And so
we're educated
aware of
adults.
the optics.
That too. We're very highly educated adults that are able to make rational, critical decisions based on the positions that we're in. So please don't act as if we don't know exactly what we're doing. I don't know what they thought, but I'm going to leave it with this. Maya Angelou said, when people show you who they are the first time, I'm going to believe you. So when that came out, you show me exactly how you are. You show me exactly how you feel when it comes to the DEI. But guess what? Nothing's going to change.
And I will say, I mean, as Ms. Stribling said, I mean, we are all adults. We are all educated, intelligent people. And we can disagree. We do this all the time. This happens all the time where we disagree on certain policies, certain decisions, and there's disagreement on this one, and that's fine. But the important thing, and I think why this was important to put on this, was because we need to decide what is the will of council on this. We know the will of the DEI committee, but want to make sure that we either ratify or recall as the will of council on this issue. So that's why we will be voting on it next week. All right, well, hearing what I did, the way that the motion is going to read next week is it's not going to be left blank to either fill in, ratify, or recall, but it will list to ratify based on the kind of consensus that was formed tonight. If folks want to speak about that or want to amend, they're welcome to do so. But that is that's how the motion will read next week, to ratify the Black History Month award to June the Barber, something like that, paraphrased. All right, well, we can move on. Let's go ahead down to item 7, which are our departmental reports. And the first is Police, Chief Watson.
Good evening, everyone. An update on an incident that happened on the 10th, which was the shots fired incident at Roslyn and Milligan, where over 35 rounds were discharged. Based on our investigation, we believe that was a targeted shooting or shot fired incident. They were shooting at two individuals who had fled and then came back after a while, and who were uncooperative as to what happened. So we gained as much information as we could at the time through the investigation. It's still ongoing. The Allegheny County Police detectives and our department are working on some further investigation. But ironically, last night, Swissvale police were called to that area and arrested one of the individuals who was shot at with a firearm, who's a juvenile. So, the people who are being shot at are generally involved in criminal activity. And this juvenile was armed with a stolen firearm from Turtle Creek. So, we're out there trying to make a difference here with these gun crimes and gun arrests. And at the same time, when I was reviewing reports this week, there were two firearms stolen, reported stolen in Swissvale through neglect. Honestly, one firearm was left in a business wrapped up in a coat, and some unknown person took it, and another one was in a vehicle that was unsecured. So I know there's been complaints on social media about what plan we have, what we're doing. It's very difficult when we take guns off the street that are stolen, and twice as many as we take in a week are stolen because of carelessness. So, in that light, we have been partnering with the Attorney General's office, who have a violent crime unit that targets gun crimes and straw purchases and tracks a lot of this after stolen guns are recovered to see if they're legitimately stolen or if they were purchased and allowed to be taken, which is called a straw purchase. They purchased the gun for the purpose of giving it to somebody who is prohibited from having a firearm, in a way to try to curb the amount of illegal firearms on the street. So we are taking definitive action as far as that goes. We also have been patrolling that area, especially heavily since that incident occurred. So we want to let the residents know that we're out there, doing our best to keep the area saturated, in light of what occurred that night. So, anybody have any questions about that incident? Or anything?
I don't have any questions about the incidents. I want to say first and foremost, Chief Watson, thank you for all the work that you're doing on this. This is kind of a PSA to the citizens of Swissvale. I'm a person who has a Ring camera, as others do, and I have the Neighbors app. And every day on the Neighbors app, I'm seeing people talking about people searching cars, trying to lock doors. You see videos of them trying the doors. Please, 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 whatever you do not leave personal belongings, and especially not a firearm in the car. Please lock that up in a safe place. I see it multiple times a day. Every morning I wake up, somebody's searching cars. Somebody's, trying to break into cars. Please do not leave your firearms in the car. That's just a recipe for disaster.
And we are out there, the officers are out there at night patrolling, looking for this type of activity. We've arrested people on multiple occasions going through cars. But the problem is a lot of people do not lock their vehicles, and they look for those unsecure vehicles. And we have multiple occasions where people not only left their vehicle unlocked, but because of the key fobs and they don't need a key to start their vehicle, they leave the key fob in their car, and then their car gets stolen. So with a firearm in it. So, again, if people would secure their things, it wouldn't end it because they do break windows and some other things occasionally, but it would limit it a lot more than what we have. So thank you, Fred, for that. Mr. Flynn,
You're
for
welcome.
that. Yeah, I mean, I've said it multiple times. Everyone will attest to it. But if the residents need to be proactive in this, we appreciate them sending us videos. They work to help us locate people who've committed these crimes. So, but we're taking definitive action to try to limit this as much as we can. So,
Thank you, Chief Watson.
I've one other thing, Mr.
Oh,
President.
sure. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'll be out of town for an accreditation meeting Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. It's required as part of that process that somebody go to Harrisburg for training And I'll be there Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So
Will you be back in time for our meeting, or will someone fill in
yes,
for you?
no, I'll be there.
Good. Glad to hear it. Great, thanks. Let's move on to Code and Fire, Chief Wilhelm.
I had several things. I tried to shorten down this list since it's been such a long meeting, but there's some things that I think it's imperative to talk about. One, I'll try to start on a positive note. We had a hearing for the owner at 2115, 2117 Noble last Thursday, and the judge found them guilty of violation of our ordinance 90-8 and fined them $10,000 for each property. So we're going to be looking to move forward with additional enforcement activities until something is done with that. And my position as the chief code official is that we're not going to tolerate excuses or anything anymore. We're going to just continue to notify, cite, and keep going until something is done with those properties. So that's the only positive thing I have. As I mentioned earlier, we are working on ordinances, and we will have those in the next probably 6 to 8 weeks to be circulated with council. I'll discuss with the solicitor and Mr. Mangelo as well from his office about looking at a way to make a Airbnb ordinance that meets all aspects, is what we discussed earlier. Also, Assistant Chief Volpe and I, me being the emergency management coordinator and him the deputy, we've attended several meetings for hazmat mitigation plan. Federal government requires each municipality to have an updated hazmat mitigation plan every 5 years, or they can opt into adopting a county-wide hazardous mitigation program. And that's a requirement for us to get any federal funding as a result of emergencies that may occur when there's declarations, whether it's winter storms, severe weather events, or any potential thing where there could be a presidential declaration to where we can get funding. So as in years past, we're going to participate in the countywide program again, and they hire a consultant and spend several $100,000 to just build one big countywide mitigation plan, and I will bring that to council. It's not going to be probably for another year, but I'm just throwing this out here so you know that whenever I bring that to you and submit that to everybody for review and for ratification and adoption, that's what that's about. Also, we've had some suspicious fires in town lately. We've had a couple garbage cans lit on fire in the 24 and 2500 block of Woodstock Avenue, and we involved the Allegheny County Fire Marshal to assist us in investigating those and working with the police department as well. And we've was kind of slow the first half of the month. It's been busy the second half of the month. We had a structure fire on Woodstock Avenue that turned out we were able to hold it to something minor. That was investigated by the fire marshal as well and determined to be accidental. But last Saturday night, we had another garbage can on fire in the alley between Dixon and Roslyn. And apparently some, we think juveniles, based on the preliminary investigation, they also opened some vents on the skate park down on Dixon Street and shot bottle rockets into the building while there were people in there while it was occupied. And then we had 5 or 6 cars on fire at Colgan's lot that same night. But that is looking like that was a result of a defective vehicle. So it's been very busy and fluid the last couple of weeks. But I wanted you to be aware of the suspicious fires, and I would encourage any residents. We also found another garbage can. Our public safety specialist, Mark Lukac, was out doing garbage patrol and found another garbage can over on, I believe it was that, I think it was Blackhawk, that was found to be burnt in the morning. So he gave us that information too. So I would encourage, if any residents see anything that looked like it was on fire, please call the fire department and let us know. Because this might be just freakish things, but these are usually the kind of things that start to escalate, and we want to nip that in the butt very early. So it's important for the community to be aware. If you have a garbage can lit on fire, or you see some brush or something that was burned, and just notify us. Call the non-emergency number if it's not on fire, and let us know about it, and we'll turn that over to the fire marshal and the police to investigate. Obviously, if it's on fire, dial 911 and get us there. So two other things. One is we're going to be beginning transitioning over to a new record management system, which is going to be a big project undertake. We've been with the same system for the last decade, and the state that system is going away. It was supposed to sunset last year, and we've been waiting for the state to adopt another company, and they haven't yet. So we need to move because what we're using now is going to sunset the end of this year. So we're going to be transitioning over to that, which is going to be a major project for us. We are working with the volunteer fire department. I had budgeted for this. They're going to actually pick up a couple $1,000s worth of the software package for this year to allow us to have a little bit better incident responder programs and a community connect program that will allow the citizens to log in and provide us information. Like if they have an elderly person in a certain location in the home, they'll be able to log in and tell us where it is, and it will go into that software live time so that we're able to access it. If somebody has a lockbox on their house, they can go in and put the lockbox key number or code in there. So we can, and it's all secured, but that way it's a way for them to communicate at their leisure with important things that we might be. So we're going to be rolling that out this summer so that that's available to us. And I want to thank the volunteer fire department for helping. We reviewed all the different modules, and they felt as well as we did it was very important to include those modules in this new system. And we didn't have it budgeted, and they stepped up to help us move over and transition to this. And lastly, I brought up months and months ago about the old fire bell that's been in the back of the fire station for 2 years. And we had gotten a quote from a local metalworks company to restore the frame, and it needs to be added because when they tore down the borough building, they had to cut it to the base because it was in concrete. So we have to have welded on extensions to the frame so that we could set it back into the ground in concrete. At any rate, previously, I'd mentioned to you that I got a quote from one company. They wanted $7,500 to do the restoration of the frame and the metal work, and then I had another contractor that gave me a range from $4,000 to $10,000 to excavate, to reset it, and then to pour concrete around it. Well, my nickname Save a Buck Chuck. I checked around and talked with several people, and I've been working with Colgan Towing, who's willing to do the metal work for us because they have the fabrication availability, and they also have a mini excavator, and they're willing to dig the hole and set it all in at a cost of $4,000. We need about 500 extra dollars to cover some of the other stuff that we need to do to buy some of the concrete and do some of the landscaping around it to get it out in the front yard of the fire station. So what I'd like to ask is if council, from my understanding, I checked with the manager Batchy, that there are seven elected officials, 6 members of council and the mayor that have some ARPA funds left. And what I'm asking for is if we can allocate $650 each if council would be willing, which will give us a budget of $4,550 so that we can get that bell out of the garage after 2 years and get it set in that front yard and put it back on display. It's a part of borough history. The bell was cast in 1906, and that's what was used to alert the citizens of fires and emergencies for over 50 years before it was taken down and put out as a monument next to the old borough building. And we really wanted to save that as part of our history. And I'm hoping that council members would consider contributing to that cost because it is a borough asset. It's a borough bell, and we don't have any money budgeted for that. And I would ask if you would consider that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that something we would need to bring under new business? Because I'm happy to do so and partner with anybody that wants to.
Mr. Wilhelm, you know I like a bargain. You worked that. Look at that. You made that.
Well,
it was so sky high. You got my 650, buddy. You got it. It is yours.
Thank
It
you.
is yours. That was some good bargaining there. I love it. Love it.
Yeah, 4,500 is a lot less than 18,000.
Absolutely.
And we're gonna do a little bit of the work. We're gonna do some of the elbow work, the firefighting staff, but just to be responsible and do it effectively and efficiently. That's what we came up with.
So, I mean, I'm game. Do we need to bring it under new business to say we want to have it on the agenda, or can we just have it on the agenda?
Mr. Batchy, can that
Just
be added to the
discuss it
agenda?
now.
Sorry, say that again.
Just discuss it now. Whoever wants to contribute, just say you want to.
Angela.
Kevin.
Fred.
John.
Brittany.
I'm in. And I'm going to contribute for Josh too. There you go, because I know he wanted to do that.
Me
There you
too. I
go.
got you, Josh.
Well, my math says if I can get 7 members to allocate 650, that comes out to 4550, and we'll be able to accomplish that and put that project to bed.
Woohoo! Good deal.
Who's covering Josh's cost?
I'll do it.
Okay.
Thank you, Fred.
I'm covering whatever the leftover is, so that'll be 7 of us. There you go. You
So
got it.
yeah, it sounds like it's covered. We can iron out those exact dollar amounts after the fact, but yeah, let's put it on the agenda for next week.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. That's all I have.
All right, thanks. Let's move on to Public Works, Mr. D'Ambrosio.
Just a couple quick items. Street sweeping begins on Monday. We will have the new street sweeper out. We had a couple test runs earlier this week and last week. Everything seems to be in good working order, and it will be out on Monday. Patching. I've been getting a lot of calls still about potholes and patching. Talked to the asphalt plant last week. They're opening a little later than normal. They're going to open April 1st. So next week we can begin to start doing hot patch. That'll hold up a lot better instead of us patching one day and then the next day or a couple days later it gets pulled back up. So we will be out next week to do a lot of hot patching, and that should hold up a lot better. That's my report.
Let's get that spot by the Parkway when we're coming into Swissvale from Regent Square. We're coming over there, that right by the BP as you're making that little right. Wow, I'm doing some dodging. Every time. So if we can hot patch that puppy, that would be great.
We'll be able
I
to
always
talk.
know you got my back, Jordan. I know you got my back. As soon as that hot patch comes in, I know it's going to be down there. I'm going to be like, that's Jordan. That's my money working. I know it.
And just for the record, I mean, it'd be great if we can get some of that done, but I do know that the lines are a little wonky, and even though some of that is on the Swissvale side of the road, some of that actually might belong to Edgewood. So we should let
Edgewood
know.
be messing us up. I'm gonna have a talk with their council.
Great. Thanks, Mr. D'Ambrosio.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead to Mr. Batchy, manager's report.
Thank you. Couple quick things. There's one additional thing for the agenda that the mayor had emailed to me a few days ago about National Library Week proclamation for next week. So I will add that to the agenda for her to give that proclamation to the library. Second thing is we do just remind everyone the groundbreaking for the new building is scheduled on the 11th. We have invited our state, local, and our local, state, federal representatives to join us. And we would do want Mr. Senator Costa to be our keynote speaker. He will be in attendance. So this was not possible without his efforts. So we definitely, he will be our number one speaker. And the last thing is the borough offices will be closed on Good Friday for the holiday. But there will be garbage and recycling collection on that day. There will not be street sweeping on Good Friday on the 18th, but there will be garbage and recycling collection, which is the guys' preference, rather than having Friday off, working Saturday, having Sunday off. So that is all I have for tonight.
We've had a long enough meeting. I have nothing else to add. Let's go to Mr. McTiernan.
Just one item today. I got a check for $23,741.23 from Norfolk Southern Railroad, which was the reimbursement for the right of way that allows us, the borough, to expand the intersection and the turn at Palmer and Washington to facilitate the bridge project. So I was impressed they sent us the check so quickly. So that's been put in the mail to Mr. Batchy. It was good news.
Great. Any new business? Oh, go ahead. Did someone say something?
No, that's all I have this evening.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Number 8, other new business?
Just real quick. I'd like to put on the agenda for next week for us to write a letter to Pittsburgh Regional Transit on behalf of all of council, all of us signing in support and urging them to maintain the P71 route, which is on the chopping block. It is a vital route for our residents to the city, to work, to school, to just access, period. And I believe it's the only route that bears our name as the Swissvale Flyer. So I think there's even more, it's not the Kennywood Flyer, it's the Swissvale Flyer. No, but I would ask for support from council for us to write a joint letter to the PRT urging them to maintain this route as it's important to our community.
Sounds good. I'm seeing some nods. Let's
I agree
add,
with you.
add that to the agenda. Thank you, Mr. Haynes, for that suggestion. Any other new business?
Really quick. You just brought up about the National Library Week, Greg, sorry. Mayor Swartzwelder, I would like to partner with you because I did want to give some ARPA funds to the library. There's been a lot of talk on social media and stuff about like them losing funding for certain things. And I realize how vital and how important our library is. So Swissvale, I use it a lot. So I would love to partner with you on some things on how we can get to the Swissvale Library.
Thanks, Fred. Yeah, the Swissvale Library, they are the center of our community. And if you have a viable library in your community, you are vibrant. So we need to keep that in mind and continue to support them in any way we can. So thank you for that. And yeah, we'll talk.
I'll reach out to you.
Mr. Quinn, was that something that you were hoping to have allocated next week, or is it something that we have a little
Next
more
month.
time? Next
Yeah, a little
month.
bit
Okay,
more time.
perfect.
Yeah, because I
Just
want
making
to
sure.
get to the library as well and all that. Yeah.
Okay, sounds great. All right, any other new business?
I'm probably going to try to get a little something together for the food bank because I think that right now all the food banks in our country are in crisis. And we're such a very small neighborhood and we don't want anybody going hungry. Anytime I sit down to dinner, I think about all the people that don't get to sit down to dinner. So we'll see about that.
Yeah, and I mean, to that end, I mean, one of the things that I was going to potentially use some of my remaining council discretionary funds for was there's an organization called the Woodland Hills Foundation that do Backpacks of Hope that provide food, send them home 6 meals to kids after school for the weekend so they can eat. Again, we can talk about this later, but that's kind of another avenue that it's Woodland Hills, so it's broader than just Swissvale, but I'm sure there are a number of Swissvale families that do benefit from that. So that's something else to throw out there for the future. I'll pause. I don't hear any other new business. I'd welcome a motion to adjourn at
Motion to
9:36
adjourn at
p.m.
9:36 p.m.
Second.
15 minutes after what we thought we would do.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Good night, everyone.
Night. Thank you, everybody.